do have IESC, International Engineering Students Conference 5.0, and it is a platform that provides us engineering students with linkages across the corporate engineering world. We are able to meet people and engineers from IK, EBK, and all those corporates. We are really glad that this conference takes place. It is an annual event.
So today, this is an annual conference. This is the 5th edition since we started, and coming in, from the first year, second year, I really enjoyed the culture in which the school comes together with the engineering students all over the country to showcase their projects, their ideas, and just to build that innovation game in Kenya, so that it can also be a developed country, in the few years that are coming.
So my name is Mercy Danu Munyata. I'm a 4th year student at the University of Nairobi pursuing geospatial engineering. So I was part of the planning, not committee planning, for the IESC conference, and so far my expectations are being met. We have learned a lot. I have several numbers from people promising me internships and attachments.
I will be your master of ceremony for today alongside a colleague of mine. Before that, allow me to officially welcome you to this particular conference, and I hope that in these 2 days, that is the 24th and the 25th of March this year, we are going to interact, we are going to learn, we are going to have ourselves exposed, and by the end of this, we are going to have ourselves more knowledgeable. At this point, allow me to welcome my co-MC, Dora Rotich, who is going to acknowledge the guests that we have here, and after that, we're going to have the prayer, the national anthems, and entertainment, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get down.
Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce some of the guests that are here. So I'd like to start with Engineer Evans Goro. Thank you so much for coming. PS Energy, Zakaria Ayeko. Thank you. Please let's clap. Julius Ongengo, the DVC. The Dean of Students, Ayub Gitao. And Engineer Henry Gakuru, the Director of Kenha. Also in our presence, there's the Assistant Dean of Students Engineering, Ms. Gatwiri. Thank you so much as well. You guys are welcome to the event. So I'd like to hand it over to my co-MC.
Ladies and gentlemen, any important occasion has to start with a presentation to God, right? So at this juncture, allow me to welcome the guys who will be leading us in prayers. We have Ivy for the Christian prayer. We have Zakaria for the Muslim prayer. And we have Mitesh Varsani, all from the School of Engineering. They have also played a very instrumental role in organizing and bringing together this particular feat that we are here to enjoy today and to also expose ourselves. I'll start off with Ivy, and then Zakaria, and then Mitesh.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very excited to be here to learn, and I want to thank God for giving us this opportunity. So kindly let us bow down for a word of prayer. King of Kings and Lord of Lords, we humble ourselves before your presence this morning. I want to thank you for this opportunity that you've given unto us, dear God. Thank you because you've made this day for us to rejoice and to be glad in it. We ask you to go before us. We ask you to make this day a success. We ask you to beautify this day, God. And we ask you, God, for your mercies, oh God. And at the end of it all, God, may we bless your name for all that you'll have done for us. Give everyone, oh God, the strength to be here. Bless everyone who came, oh God, and impact our lives. Let us learn from this conference, dear Jesus, and at the end of it all, God, we shall remember to thank you. For this we do pray and believe in Jesus' name.
Good morning. I greet you with the Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise and thanks to Allah, Almighty Lord, the Lord of all the humankind and all that exists. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most gracious and the most merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner of the day of recompense, or the sovereign of the day of resurrection. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone you worship and you alone you ask for help. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, guide us to the right path. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Guide us to the path of those who you bestowed upon your grace, and not those who have gained your anger, and not those who have gone astray. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good morning, everyone. Let us all bow down our heads for the word of prayer. Om Purbuhasvaha Tat Savidur Varenyam Bhargo Devas Yadim Vahi Thiyo Yo Na Prachodaya. O God, thou us, give of life, the remover of pains and sorrows, the bestower of happiness.
And I'd also like to invite Lauren, who is to lead us with the national anthem.
Mungu nguvu yetu, ilete baraka kwetu, haki iwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi. The East African Anthem.
Unilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Uzalendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani, mila zetu na desturi zetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Twende kwenu mashambani, ikalive mahari, tuishi kwa amani, nikikutazama moyo wayoyoma, kipenzi changu roho ndakuyanza. Nikikutazama moyo wayoyoma, kipenzi changu roho ndakuyanza. Nasema rafiki basi nipite barabarani mama, basi nenda lote mama, nenda lote mama mpenzi, unaenda nikuenzi kinomanoma, yashamwagika yazoleki hayao, nenda lote mama, nenda lote mama mpenzi, unaenda nikuenzi kinomanoma, yashamwagika yazoleki hayao, nenda lote mama.
So this is an original song that me and my friend here wrote. He arranged the song. His name is Nash. It's called My Everything.
Hi, my name is Nash. I write songs, I play instruments, and I'm saved. This song came out of heartbreak actually. Anyway, skizeni tu wimbo.
I believe we were meant to be. The perfect match, I believe I I believe we were meant to be. I believe we were the perfect match. I believe I am yours forever. I say, baby, you are my life, my sunshine, baby, my stars. Oh, I feel you inside me now. Nakupenda malkia wangu sana, nakupenda malkia wangu mpenzi wangu. You are my everything, 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 you are my everything.
Your love is all I ever needed. Your smile kept my heart alive. But you took my love for granted. But you took my love for granted. Your love is all I ever needed. Your smile kept my heart alive, but you took my love for granted. But you took my love for granted.
My everything, you are my everything, you are my everything, you are my everything. Okay, nasema kutembea na wewe, I will be with you forever. Kukuwa nawe, my baby girl, I'll be yours all forever. You are my chapati maragwe, you are my chipo kuku, you are my love, my wife, my baby, my everything and the beginning. I love you, my baby. You are my everything. You are my everything. You are my everything. You are my everything. You
nisijali lolote waliyosema kukuhusu wewe. I don't know one is perfect, we are created differently. I don't know one is perfect, we are created differently. Nilikupenda nisijali lolote waliyosema kukuhusu wewe. I don't know one is perfect, we are created differently. I don't know one is perfect, we are created differently. You are my everything, you are my everything, you are my everything.
Hey, my baby, my Valentine, yeah. Girl, you the making my temperature the rise. If you leave me, I go die, I swear. You're like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest, your love is torturing me. I am so obsessed. I want to top your baby. Only your body the back of me, she only. Open I make I see only. Let me love one thing, baby, make a bad man sing. I go spend for your head. Talk about the one I don't care what they say, cause it matter. Now him I want they carry from my head every night. Now him I want they carry to my head. Oh, lolo. Don't tell me no, no, no. You can be my partner, never riding solo. And we can do them low, can you need to marry more? I see what you do, no, yeah, baby, carry go, carry go. Ule, your body the back of me, she ule. Open up, make I see ule. Let me love one thing, baby, make a bad man sing. But you got me coming. Oh, why should I be coming early in the morning? Oh yeah, she can make you spend my money. Call me Mr. B and I go make you honey. Hey, give me, baby, make you give me. I go show you loving, I go take you to my city. Holding it, make a look up today. Baby, make a sit there on me before you go see me. Fine girl, you know your body bad. Same body bad, can make you shake it for Ghana. Kia dancing for me, baby bad. Come on, give me some,
I'm asking those of us who are seated out uko nyuma, kindly kuja mbele tafadhali, so that we also fill in the spaces we have, and those of us who are going to be joining us later we don't have that commotion later on. Kindly, my brothers, fellow engineers, kindly join us. There are spaces here, spaces down here for us. There is space for each and every one of us whenever you feel like sitting. Please help me fill in this front row seat. As we do that, allow me to recognize the presence of Engineer Henry Gakuru, of the Director of Kenha. Welcome to this particular conference, sir. Now, the Engineering Students Association usually formulates and works and ensures that the International Engineering Students Conference is successful. It's an annual occasion, and why it is important for us to be here, ladies and gentlemen, as budding engineers, as student engineers, as professional engineers, as members of the university staff, why it is important for us to be here is that we may help mold engineers who are going to fit into the society of Kenya, bring problem-solving solutions to the challenges that as a society we face. Now, at this juncture, allow me to welcome my co-MC, Stephanie, kindly. At this point, we're going to be having keynote addresses and speeches from our guests so that we may also release them. They're gentlemen who play very instrumental responsibilities in our economy, both as a university and as a nation. Stephanie, hurry.
Thank you, co-MC. Good morning. I am Stephanie, as he's mentioned, Stephanie Cherono. I'll be the co-MC for today. As we begin the next section, I would like us to just familiarize with some in-house rules. Since we'll be hearing from our keynote speakers, we'd like to maintain silence. We'd like to minimize the movements that we have. Being seated at the front helps that. So we're trying to avoid movements. I'd also like to welcome those who have never been here. So if you need to help yourself use the facilities, it's at the right. Once you walk out of the glass door, it's just at your left after walking out of the glass door. So those are just some of the basic in-house rules we ought to familiarize ourselves with before we begin this next section. From the program, we are supposed to be hearing from our department chairs, and we'll begin with the department chair of the civil engineering block. For here, we have Engineer Goro. Engineer Goro serves as a civil engineer for over 23 years. He has over 23 years experience in the field of civil engineering. He has a very rich profile. I encourage us all to go visit and learn and get encouraged. He has memberships in the following. He's a corporate member of the Architectural Association of Kenya. He's a corporate member of the International Society of Soils Mechanics and Foundation Engineering in UK. He's also registered as an engineer by the Engineers Registration Board in accordance with the Engineer Registration Act. This is among so many other memberships he's part of. Very rich profile, and I'd like to welcome him to come and address us as the first. Karibu, Engineer Goro.
Good morning, distinguished guests. I would like to appreciate the representation from the Ministry of Energy, Vice Chancellor's Office, Deputy Vice Chancellor's Office, Engineers Board of Kenya, Institute of Engineers of Kenya, Architectural Association, and then the Dean's Office, members of staff, all protocols observed. I stand here to represent the chairman and other chairmen of the Faculty of Engineering, and distinguished guests. It's a great honor and privilege for me to stand in front of all of you and try and express my concern in this big industry of engineering. We do appreciate that after the academic circles, there are professional platforms that exist and need to be adhered to and looked into, and they are also very important, but we can discuss that into a lot of details. We also do appreciate that there is the Engineering Student Association, which is greatly in collaboration with the IEK. And IEK finished their elections yesterday or the day before. So we'll have a new team in the IEK as of yesterday. The theme of the conference is Engineering for Humanity. That is a very big title, because it appreciates the life of a human being, and engineering is the biggest service provider, all other professionals, and we should appreciate that. When an architect draws space, that space is useless until the engineer makes it useful. So you have to appreciate how you have to collaborate with the other associated professionals. When a doctor is in theater, the doctor is useless unless the equipment and apparatus are working, and so forth in all other professionals. With the current nature of electronics and electrical, we appreciate that the engineering participation in communication and all aspects, including quite hefty, we can't go into one by one listing them. The engineering plays the biggest role in this field. It sounds like the engineer does not appreciate themselves, especially when they are at student level. I talk this with my hands gripped because it is true. You engineering students do not appreciate yourself until you get into problems, and that is when you hit a pothole and you become useless. You have to start appreciating yourself, and you appreciate yourself by attending classes, trying to assimilate as much as you can, and trying to work in groups so that you can grasp what is being shared to you. Engineering is not a copy-paste academic issue. You never get anywhere with copy-pasting, so you have to understand and appreciate all that. We also shall therefore appreciate how much we should be helping the engineering. Now that the COVID has gone down, there is an improvement into the way communication is being handled. But the biggest challenge is all engineering courses need laboratory work, and you can't get anywhere without that face-to-face physical contact with apparatus and equipment. Dodging it does not help anybody in the student fraternity to appreciate further from that level. Finally, with a broad list of guest speakers, I am confident that everyone will find today's International Engineering Student Conference both informative and useful. As mentioned earlier about the engineering and humanities, I would like to express deeper into this aspect of your theme today, engineering fraternity. Over and above the chairman's speeches, I would also like to introduce myself. I'm Engineer Evans Goro, an outcrop of Nairobi University, graduated the year before the coup, that is 1981. Some of you might not know there was a coup. They did a master's, then came back to lecture in 2003, but I have a consultancy firm I ran since 1986, and it's still working even today as I stand here. Mostly doing structural work, a bit of roads and a bit of water, and it's in town. I've been very keen and very involved in the engineering fraternity, IEK, AK, and the rest. I was a council member of AAK in my mid-20s, when I was 24, 25. Now I'm 62. So I became a fellow of IEK 35 years ago. I'm a fellow of AAK and the chairman of the College of Fellows that runs all AAK affairs, architectural, engineering, surveying, and so forth. And it is also good.
Recording in progress.
Time back. It's also good to appreciate the laws of Kenya when you are at this age. Laws of Kenya, chapter 5 to 5, deals with architects and quantity surveyors. Laws of Kenya, chapter 430, deals with engineers. Who is an engineer? If you call yourself an engineer and you're not, you can be jailed for a number of years or get fined 20,000 shillings. So when your young man here said, you engineers, calm down, I didn't see an engineer there. So anybody who responded by coming down can go to jail. Well, as an engineer, you have to be very serious, strict, punctual in whatever you do. And that is what makes you an engineer. As an engineer, that chapter 430 also gives guidance to Engineers Registration Board, which gives guidance to how much you should be paid as a consultant, big project, as a consultant for 1 hour a day, a week or a month. And it is very clear that if you charge less than that figure, you can be sued and you can go to jail. But the Kenya we are today, 98% of them undercharge that figure. 0 of them go to jail. Who is responsible for that? Our professional bodies, and the head of the professional bodies is Engineering Board of Kenya. It's the statutory body that deals with engineering issues. Why they don't do that, I don't know. I think we have the representative coming to talk here, and that representative should answer that question to you. If you are here, you've heard it, I will come and remind you tomorrow. I'm available tomorrow, organizers. Because I have a big feeling for young engineers. Engineering as a profession is one of the highest paying professions in East Africa. But because of the way the young engineers behave, they get paid very poorly. It is very clear that the project you design, you are wholly responsible if it collapses. So your fees are as huge as your project to help you recover. This is never observed. I also do appreciate and pity student engineers and the graduate engineers when there are sessions and meetings with other professional engineers. Some of these graduate engineers and students cannot afford because these bodies charge them 1,500 shillings, 2,000 shillings, and I'll come and ask them when they are on this platform why they do that. Because that puts you in a very bad, challenging point because of that financial constraint, and you are not exposed to deal with the senior people who can share information forthright into you. When we get down to the industry, we will find you students having come into graduate engineers. In that industry, you'll find technicians, and you have to learn how to associate with technicians. Sometimes the technicians know more than you, but the more they know is only a small spectrum, but they know more than you. So you have to listen to them, because you have a big spectrum and you have bits and pieces. You have to run many technicians all together. And when a technician goes to tell a client or a project that you don't need this guy, I can do it, you should be able to give some guidance. Those are the failures we have that young engineers are getting into, that they need the senior engineers to put their fingers into it and help you young people, but they are not. And young engineers are also becoming crooked in that they go and try and design some block of flats. They say, I can do it alone. I'll do the plumbing, electrical, and structural. And of course, he has nowhere to sign, and he'll leave the developer and the building will collapse. Now, who has made the mess there? Both the young engineer and the developer gets the biggest losses. These are things we need to be sharing amongst ourselves with time, so that as the engineering student gets to graduate level, he's able to associate at very high level and get exposed. Most of your engineering work after graduation is what you put your hands on, not what you memorized. It is what you put your hands on, and you know where to go for reference. But if you don't know because you copied, then you will soon be losing your job. Another crucial aspect engineering students need to observe is on employment, which is your biggest communication tool. Who are you communicating with? The senior engineer, your boss, and the contractor, and anybody. The biggest tool you have is drawing. If you don't know how to draw, you'll be in a lot of problems, be it electrical, mechanical, structural, whichever line. You have to respect that unit, or here they don't teach AutoCAD. I hear that a lot. You didn't become a mathematician because you had a calculator. You had to learn maths first. So AutoCAD is a calculator after you have known how to draw the thickness of each line, the shape and pattern of each line. Go back to it. By the time you finish your 4th year, you know that subject inside out. 4th year, because after that, things become different. Sorry, I can stay here the whole day. I'd like to stop there. But I'm available. Your organizer can get me anytime. As long as I get 1.5 hours notice, I can come back. I'm within the campus. Thank you, Coordinator.
Engineer Goro, I don't think I can possibly define how much that firm, profound, and well-informed address is appreciated by all of us who are here in this auditorium today. You spoke passionately and well articulated the texture and life of an engineer out there. I believe that is the wisdom the experience of over 41 years of hard work and practice as an engineer. Let us appreciate Engineer Evans Goro for that very formidable address. Thank you, sir. And I do urge Esa to bring on board Engineer Goro again. He has offered up his time. Most of his peers do not offer up their time. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is one gentleman who has been very important to this particular journey. Allow me to introduce a gentleman who is a seasoned counseling psychologist with over a decade and a half years of experience. He began his career as a minister of the gospel with the Seventh-day Adventist Church before he saw greener pastures in the University of Nairobi and joined this particular fraternity, and currently does double up as the Assistant Dean of Students and Students Counselor in the Faculty of Social Sciences. Mr. Mutune, ladies and gentlemen, is a family man who loves spending time with his family, but during his free time he loves reading and doing what most of us during our holidays we don't do because we love it, but because we have to do it. He does farm work in his free time. He is currently a doctorate of philosophy candidate here at the University of Nairobi. Now, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Paul Boya Mutune.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Mutune, and I think the MC has said elaborately about me. And allow me to say that when I was driving in, Mr. Kenya, our Dean of Students, calls me and he tells me that, Paul, I want you to come and represent me in this international engineering conference. And I told Mr. Dean, you know, today I came in dressed casually. Then he tells me, Paul, don't worry about that. Engineers do not put on suits. They wear overalls and aprons, and I'm up for the task. And here I am to represent Mr. Kenya, our Dean of Students. And when I saw the theme for today, which says Engineering for Humanity, I was like, how do I connect engineering with humanity? And it dawned on me that those of you who are studying engineering, regardless of the discipline that got into that training to become problem solvers. Are we together? We've had instances in our country whereby we encounter numerous road accidents simply because of poorly constructed roads. We blame rogue engineers. We have buildings recently in Kiambu and other parts of the country where buildings collapse. And the reason is that we have engineers who we can call quack engineers. Why am I saying this as I represent the Dean? That you are called to be problem solvers as engineers. Am I right? In the field that you study, once you graduate from the university, as it has been said before, know that you are a problem solver. Work with all faithfulness. Let integrity prevail in your practice as an engineer in whatever field you'll be practicing in. Because I also found that engineering was established to conquer problems created by nature, and more so, those that have been created by human beings. Identify a gap, identify a challenge, identify a problem as an engineer as you prepare to graduate, and let me say, position yourself in a way that you become a true and a faithful problem solver in your profession. You know, I was once a pastor, and there are times we say, or we ask, am I talking to somebody? Are we together? And let me say that as you prepare to graduate and exit from this institution, ask yourself how you'll be an agent of change in your area or specialization. I'm going to be very brief because I'm almost winding up, because as I said, I was ambushed when I was driving in. And allow me to say that the office of the Dean of Students is available and is willing and is also able, because we have some things that many of you may not know. Privilege to say that we are available, able and willing to assist our needy engineer students. We have a financial aid office or means section in that office that assists the very needy students, and we are part of the student fraternity. If you are a needy student, knock at that office, ask to see the one in charge of financial aid. We also have the office, the section that deals with talent. If you're an engineer who is talented and you want to showcase your talent as an engineer, visit the Office of Students. We also have in the same office counseling for students, especially where I am. I see so many coming telling me, you know what, Paul, I think I registered for a very tough subject and I want to change from this subject to humanities. We offer career counseling to students and also social counseling. If you feel challenged as a student, kindly pay us a visit. I'm saying this on behalf of the Dean of Students, Mr. Kenywa, that don't die alone. We are available. Enjoy the conference. May God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was brief, but the message, I believe, is home. I don't know if we've been challenged like I've been challenged, you know. There are so many problems out there in humanity, and we all are studying, I believe most are studying engineering in this room. So how are you positioning yourself to be a part of those who are solving the problems instead of contributing to the problems, you know? At the very least, even if you don't see yourself practicing engineering, you have to come out of this 5 years with a mentality of, I have to be part of the problem solvers. Thank you. Thank you for that brief but very informative message. We are about to hear from the next addresser, who's Macharia. He's the IESC chairperson. And before we hear from him, because I believe he'll be coming to tell us about this conference, I would like us to maybe just somebody from amongst us, maybe shout the theme of this conference. It's been said just right now, engineering for humanity. And I believe when you are coming, the theme was part of the motivation that brought you to this room, to just listen about what the speakers will have to say about engineering for humanity. And before maybe we get it talked about by the chairperson himself, maybe we can have somebody just also share with us what were your expectations for this session. Just stand, tell us your name, maybe course here, and what were your expectations while you were walking in to listen to the theme, Engineering for Humanity. So you all just walked in because there was a banner outside saying there's a session here. Anyone, Engineering for Humanity, what were your expectations? Just say your name, expectations for this session. Right, you guys are shy. Sawa. Then let's just welcome Macharia. He'll come and tell us what we'll actually be talking about for this conference. Maybe tell us the journey of how this day has come to be. So Macharia is a fourth year civil engineering student. He is also the chair of this IESC conference of the planning committee. He is also a member of the Association of Civil Engineering Students, ACES, I don't know how they call it in ACES, yeah, okay. He's also participating in a project in the Society of Electrical Engineering students. So you see how these things interplay. All engineering fields, they come much together because electrical engineering, civil engineering, we're working together on a project and he's a part of it. So let's welcome Macharia with a round of applause.
Before I continue, I'd like to correct the moderator. It's ACES, not ACES. So my name is James Macharia. I'm the chair of the organizing committee. And before I start, I'd like to recognize the presence of Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Dean of Faculty Engineering, the Dean of Students Representative, and the departmental chairs, lecturers, and invited guests, and also our fellow students. Good morning. Good morning once more. I hope you're enjoying the journeys thus far. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for gracing this occasion. What you're currently seeing is the fruits of the organizing committee, in which we started the journey in late October due to COVID issues and also the elections which happened last year. This is the 5th edition of the International Engineering Students Conference since its inception, since 2018. And over the years, we've been having different themes, each focusing on a certain sector and how us young engineers or future engineers would come up with creative innovations and also to how to help and also solve the problems facing in those various sectors. Moving on forward, our theme for this year, as earlier mentioned, it's engineering for humanity. As we all know, the human population is always rising, and as we rise, we also make significant steps in the evolution, technological, sociological, in many ways. And in such kind of cases, we also always encounter problems. And thus, this theme for this year's conference is mainly centered on the humanitarian aspect, how as we can bring young engineers to come up with solutions which can be used to help in solving the problems which may arise from the earlier stated causes. And also, to add to that, we're also focusing on how we can also improve the next generation of engineers and how they can also use various skills, innovative, creative ideas into how to solve and approach the problems which we'll be facing in the near future, and lastly, how they might be in service to the humankind. Together with our partners, the University of Nairobi, the Engineers Board of Kenya, the Institution of Engineers, the Kenya Green Building Society, we have all partnered together during this conference. We have organized panel discussions, workshops which will be held later during the day and also after the keynote speeches, as we engage the students in this delicate topic, which had been earlier stated by Engineer Evans Koligoro as he gave his departmental keynote address. Also, we also have exhibitions which are currently going on. That's the Great Court and also just outside the 6th floor. Kindly feel free to approach, interact, and also use this to build the next step in your engineering career, as earlier stated by our representative from the Dean's of Students Office. And as I close, kindly do enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for that very formidable address. Now, allow me to introduce one very industrious, one very instrumental pillar of the Engineering Students Association, a very intelligent, smart, and I believe a very good upcoming engineer, one.The of Mombasa County, who has been formerly the Secretary General of the Engineering Students Association, currently also the chairperson of the same association. She has played a very huge role in bringing together this particular conference, inviting our guests, looking for partners, and also coordinating students' network within the university. She is a 5th-year student of mechanical and manufacturing engineering. She is passionate about helping people, and of course, the greatest role of engineers, solving problems. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Rahma Abdul Basit.
Hello everyone. I won't take much of your time, but I'd like to tell you first, I'd like to greet you. So good morning everyone. Thank you very much for coming on board to the International Engineering Students Conference. This is the 5th annual international conference in the University of Nairobi since its conception, and we'd really like to appreciate the fact that you chose to be a part of this. From this, we choose to not only get insights, but, develop some of the skills, not theoretically, but also practically with considering all those who have made this conference what it is today. And we'd also like to thank those who initiated it from the word go. So the purpose of this IESC 4.0 is, discussing on the issues covering engineering for humanity. So when we're talking about engineering for humanity, what are we looking at? We're looking at two aspects. We're looking to have we're looking to have future existing engineers who take into account the ever-evolving societies. We're also looking to fill up the gap that, perhaps engineering systems and projects have contributed to that might not be considering the humanity aspect. Also, when we cover engineering for humanity, we also consider that there are other professions and how can we integrate our profession with other professions so that in the end of the day we come up with a solution that, considers everyone and we put into consideration the aspect of any human being that is going to be in contact, is going to be affected by the kind of systems we are coming up with. I don't have much to say. I really wanted to talk about the theme, but I'd also like to appreciate the ESA Executive Committee, the IESC Committee, the students, the administration of the University of Nairobi, the Ministry of Energy, parastatals in the engineering profession, also the private companies in the engineering profession for, pushing us to tell us, make this event big, make sure people get insights out of this. So in the end of the day, make sure you carry a word or two on the theme. Also, make sure you interact with the professions and get to learn, the possible fields that are out there, how you can contribute to building sustainable projects, and I hope you have fun. Thank you.
Yes, I believe now we are acquainted with why the theme engineering for humanity. And I believe for those who walked in without a bit of expectations, now we are starting to get some reasoning of why this has come to be. So we are about to welcome a very resourceful person in the field of engineering. He's the Dean of Engineering Students, Professor Ayub Getao. Very resourceful. He's an agricultural engineer for over 30 years now, with over 30 years experience in academic and practical experience in several fields around engineering, and he has held various positions within the university. He's been a full-time lecturer, he's been a senior lecturer and an associate professor. He's also acted as the chairman of the environmental and biosystems engineering, and he's the current dean of students in the engineering department. So let's give it up for Professor Ayub Getao.
Yes, good morning. First of all, I appreciate your presence. I know when we were starting here, in fact, with the guests there and with my boss, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs, and with the Rahman team, we were asking ourselves, are we going to get quorum? But at least you have come in. And before I start, let me appreciate, first of all, presence of our Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs, Professor Julius Ogengo. Again, remember, he's also in charge of our matter students. We have our Zakaria Ayeko from the Ministry of Energy, the CAS. We have Henry Gakuru, Director Kenha, the chairman present, and the representative from the Dean of Students. Again, let me make a correction quite early. I'm not the Dean of Students. I'm the Dean Faculty of Engineering in the academic side. Then we have Catherine, who is the Assistant Dean of Students and the Council. I've realized even outside the university, we always confuse that. Our guests, we highly appreciate you. We highly appreciate the presence of our students. I know there are many activities happening around now, and as such, we have to do all these things together. I'll not take much time. I know our team, our guests, and my boss, we are having another meeting at around 11, so I'll try to be quite brief. But of importance, our guests, our student leadership, this activity, we leave it to the students. And that's why you realize, even for me, I'm normally briefed quite briefly. And again, we let it flow within themselves. It's a form of mentorship. It's building leadership in them. Rahma, where is your team? The team of the ESA students, the officials. Can we see the officials? I would have wished you would have introduced them. Just say who you are in that organization, your department. We can start with you. Just briefly, so that we are appreciated.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Saroni Modekai, Social Affairs Secretary, ESA. Thank you.
Which department?
But civil engineering.
Civil engineering, we can appreciate you. Yes.
Hello, everyone. I am Ruth Muchile, ESA Petroleum Engineering Representative.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elda, Civil Engineering, ESA Vice Academic Secretary.
All protocols observed. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shelley Wamboi. I am the ESA Academic Secretary. I am a student in Geospatial Engineering.
Kinoti. I'm the Finance Secretary, ESSA, Department of Environmental and Biosystems Engineering.
Is it the chairman? I thought chairman is a universal name. Yes, just introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Rahma. The ESSA chair, and we also have the IESC committee, but we can't mention them all, but all of us have worked together, the ESSA and IESC committee, in conjunction to make this happen.
Okay, thank you. Can I see the students from civil engineering, civil and construction? Just raise your hands wherever you are. Civil students. Can I see electrical, mechanical? See, mechanical seems to be more. Geospatial, biosystems. At least we have some good representation. So our visitors and the DVC, we have civil engineering is the largest department, followed by electrical, that's the number of students, followed by electrical, then we have mechanical, geospatial and biosystems at about the same level. And again, petroleum is housed under mechanical engineering. So we also appreciate the university management for giving us this space, and again for the numerous mentorship and the support they have given the Faculty of Engineering. As you may appreciate, yesterday we had our prize awards by the Vice Chancellor, and on performance contracting, the Faculty of Engineering, out of the 10 faculties, was in position what? Exactly, it was in position 1, and it is something we would like position ourselves and move forward with. So our guests, these are engineering students, and at this point, as Engineer Goro has said, you are student engineers. That is your official name. And in fact, you can also register with the Institute of Engineers of Kenya. And I hope that drive has been taking place as student engineers. So that by the time you finish your undergraduate after the 5 years, then you can easily join your professional bodies. Remember, we have our accreditation bodies as Commission for University Education. We have our professional bodies. Our home is in the Institute of Engineers of Kenya. We have the one that does the registration. There is no way you can leave the university and want to practice engineering without the presence of those professional bodies. Our students, we teach them from basic sciences. You study physics, you study chemistry. And one thing I always say, we have the best brains in this house who have done a lot of mathematics at high school. They have done physics and chemistry. Remember, those are the core courses that brought you to the university. They do engineering sciences. They will talk about fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, name it, solid and structural mechanics. They do engineering design and drawing. And mainly this comes in the 3rd year, the 4th year, and the 5th year. That's why you appreciate that. We do our degree classification from 3rd year, 4th year, and 5th year. But I will still urge you, your 1st year transcript will still appear. Your 2nd year transcript will still appear. That's why I normally ask students, have a very strong drive from the 1st year and the 2nd year. I've been looking at your transcript. In the 1st year, you see a student is largely scoring D's and C's. Similarly, in the 2nd year. Then 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, you start seeing a lot of B's, a lot of A's, and a very strong candidate. This student will get an upper, will get a 1st class. But as you go out in the industry, they look at how you performed in 1st year. How did you perform also in 2nd year? Although it will not be used for grading your degree. For all our degree programs, the Deputy Vice Chancellor has been on it very strongly and has given us a lot of support. We have done curriculum review. For a 5-year degree program, the cycle is after 5 years, you do the review so that you can come into the current situation. Today you are talking about the Internet of Things. Today you are talking about artificial intelligence. Today you are talking about machine learning. In our time, we didn't have that. In fact, as we talked about drawing then, you just thought about the T-square and all those mechanical or physical equipment. Today, I'm very certain, I'll report that in every department, at least some level of training in AutoCAD, that automation, computer-aided designs has been embraced. And that is the direction to go. Because we have to be a world-class university as we are, and as a Faculty of Engineering, we have to lead that process. The name of this conference, the International Engineering Student Conference, is Engineering for Humanity. How do lawyers make money? The increase of a lawyer's earning comes when there is more what? When there is more claim. And the salary of a medic, when there is more what? The more you become sick, the more the earning increases. What about for the engineer? The more the economy thrives, and people are in a good situation, they can feed themselves, they can afford housing, then the earning of an engineer increases. You are building more irrigation system, you are building more dams, you are building more housing for this community. So more or less, engineering for humanity and the theme, then it is very positive, and in that direction, trying to make humanity and the life of our society more conducive and more enjoyable. So engineers assist in national development and sustainability. And as we may appreciate with scarce resources, we have to become innovative. Remember, we mentor you. As Engineer Goro, again, as my colleague has said, we have also to practice engineering. That's why under our mandate in the university, we have this teaching and learning. We have to do research. We have to do consultancies. And again, we have to do community services. But if it's CSR, corporate social responsibility, we have to serve our community. So the theme of engineering for humanity is quite right and in the right direction. We have, you students are quite innovative. We have some of you coming up with startups, business models. We have our makerspace, we had our Fab Lab, and we have been in collaboration with Gearbox, among others. The whole idea is to mold you as our academic children. You have your biological parents, but once you are here, you are academic children. And we have to take you as that. And as it was said by Mr. Monene, the representative to the Dean of Students, in some cases, your problems becomes ours. I know the university is very particular and sometimes at the low rate of completion of some of our students in engineering. The structures have been put in such a way that we have our support from the Dean of Students, we have our support from the chairmen of department, so that we can try and make your life as comfortable and as easy as possible. Our offices are always open. If you have an issue, be it academic, be it social, please feel free. Communicate with us and feel that we are your academic parents. Our partners in the industry, our engineering students are well and highly trained. I bet even these times that we have had of COVID, we have tried as much as possible with the direction of the university and our contribution to do some breaded teaching, whereby we have theories, and then we have, we have virtual interaction, then we have physical interaction, so that by the time these students come out, he or she is well loaded up. And as we get out of this, we shall largely, there are some good gains we have gotten from this virtual interaction, but as it was said earlier, matters to do with labs, trips, workshops, and even some level of the theoretical concept, some physical interaction should be there. So I can assure you, our students are well trained. They are, by the time they are out of here, they are highly qualified. And I always tell the 5th years, what we are assisting you in, not largely about the academic concept, but creating confidence in you, creating discipline in you. By the time you go out to the industry, you can then go through your normal process of internship, job training with some confidence. That one is very important to us. The other issue, as I conclude, that I want to talk about is our industrial partners. Our industrial partners include our line ministries. Remember here, as I've just mentioned, we have like 6 degree programs. They are the line ministries, be it in water, be it in agriculture, be it in energy, be it in, which other ones? Environment, roads, the transport sector. Those are our line ministries. We have the private sector. People who are practicing engineering, again, who our industrial partners. We have parastatus. We have international organizations, the UN, the UNICEF, UN Environment, UNESCO, name it. And these are potential areas that we get employment in. By the end of your 2nd year, you have internal attachment. By the end of your 3rd year, you also have your internal attachment and some interaction with the industry. By the end of your 4th year, that is where you move to the industry for 8 weeks, for you to interact with your line ministries, private sector, and have some exposure to what is expected out of you. And this again, we always say it is a good area for you to come up with design concept towards your 5th year design project. By the time you finish, after 5th year, what follows after that? Structured attachment means from May, June, all the departments, you have to be attached, and the lecturers will have to follow you to the industry to supervise you over the 8 weeks. So you have to put your logbooks in good form so that then we can see how it is going. Otherwise, that is one area we can't leave open. After graduation, I will not say you go for employment. You go for what? The basic thing is you go for what? You go for your internship. Just like the medics, like the legal profession, you go for internship. Internship means you are attached to the industry. I know Engineers Board of Kenya have got a well-structured internship program whereby you are paid, but then you are attached to various sectors of the industry. For instance, we have civil. You are attached to the road sector. You go to the water sector. You go to the environmental and public health sector, so that by the end of it, you appreciate what is happening in the industry. But then, unfortunately, you'd like to finish, for instance, you are finishing your exams in May, the 5th year, you graduate in September, but in between you would like to have gotten some high caliber employment. That is the drive, the expectation of the students. In fact, the students, I normally joke with them. They want to finish in May, and then by the time they are coming in September, they are already driving their own vehicles. They drive themselves to the graduation square. Let us be patient, yeah? Otherwise, we shall crash land if we move at that pace. So that issue of attachment is on job training. Engineers Board of Kenya, as I've just said, the IEK are our professional bodies, our home that we have to appreciate. You remember about 2-3 weeks ago, we had the World Engineers Day, which again was held at the university. After you graduate, you get your certificate, you automatically becomes a what? A graduate engineer. You're not a practicing engineer. Graduate engineer who should now work under the experienced professional engineer. They have to take your hand and move you through the profession. That's why I'm saying, let us not rush. Let us not imagine life will end tomorrow. Imagine it will be over 80 years. And now you're about 20 years or 24. How many years are you left to live? You have another about 60. But you aren't within 1 or 2 years. You have achieved about everything. Once we move gradually, then we shall definitely get there. Again, as I close then, after graduate engineer, you become a professional engineer, you can become a consulting engineer, and you are practicing your trade with more confidence. So we highly appreciate the support we have gotten from industry for our students. And again, I just like to apologize on behalf of our students for the time lag that we experienced as we were starting. But the good thing now, I can see we are full house. And again, I don't know whether it is my honor to invite my boss or you'll invite my boss. Okay, let me invite our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Julius Ogengo, again to give you a word of wisdom. Bait is very busy schedule. We appreciate him coming. Thank you.
We appreciate your contribution, and I believe that the Faculty of Engineering is very much blessed to have you as their father. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he has given simple surprise on who our next speaker is, but it is important, it is by protocol, that we have a small protocol profile for him before he comes on stage. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a professor of human anatomy. He is an accomplished researcher with hundreds or maybe thousands of scientific publications. He is a seasoned human anatomy teacher and has supervised and mentored thousands of undergraduate and postgraduate students. He possesses a wide management experience characterized by extensive knowledge, skills, and competencies in strategic frameworks for administration of university education, resource management, visionary and transformative result-oriented leadership, management of academic programs, managerial skills, strategy formulation, and implementation. What a gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, join me and kindly shall we be upstanding as we welcome the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, University of Nairobi, Professor Julius A. Ogengo.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Asante sana. Sometimes when somebody else describes you, you may forget yourself, like I did. While I was waiting, I met two friends. Bwana Zakaria Yeko, the Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Energy, today representing the CS, Ministry of Energy. Engineer Henry Gakuru, the Directorate of Kenya National Highways Authority, the Dean of Faculty of Engineering, the formidable Faculty of Engineering. And I recognize the charismatic engineer Ogoro, representing the heads of academic departments in the Faculty of Engineering. And I see the Office of Dean of Students here. And I see the Assistant Dean of Students, my good old friend, Catherine Gatwiri. All the distinguished partners, all the staff, the Faculty of Engineering and their friends, the leadership of the Engineering Student Association, the organizers, students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am happy to be here today. I planned, Professor Gitao, I planned to be here, and I came at 8, and I have stayed deliberately because I'm happy to support this initiative. I associate with it very wholeheartedly because this brings out the true spirit of student professional power. You can be able to organize your own conferences and bring together your colleagues and marshal such a large number of partners, relevant partners. It says our students, our student professional organizations are of age and you are truly world class. Let us appreciate ourselves. World-class universities are characterized by, among other things, abundance of talent. And what you are doing today is what is done by students of your profession in other universities of the stature of the University of Nairobi on a world-class scale. So I thank you sincerely for demonstrating this true position of world-classness. Take my appreciation as your Deputy Vice Chancellor from the bottom of my heart. And that's the reason I stayed this long, to just tell you that bit. Having said that, Dean, Faculty of Engineering, your students even gave me a syllabus. They said, we are inviting you, and when you come, talk about the following. So they gave me a script, and I'm now happy to mention a few things from the syllabus that you gave me. The first one that I want to talk about is the issue of humanity. To magnify that, Engineer Goro has said it, Engineer Gitao has said it, engineering for humanity. I like you in this process to be concerned about and to emphasize the concept of human engineering, that field, human engineering, the concept of ergonomics. When I was championing the issue of online teaching and learning, and the engineers were slow, I visited the faculty and they gave me quite a beating on how this can never be done online. I listened and I asked one question. So how do pilots train? Are they given a plane and told, now I am sitting here and you sit here, fly, and it's full of passengers? They said, by simulation. I said, thank you very much. So you can teach engineering a similar way. Let me take you to ergonomics. Then they said, how about exams? You know, these people are going to steal exams. And I gave an example, which I want to give you again. Suppose you have a 5th year civil engineering class, and you said the entire world has been struck by the COVID pandemic. Design a building that conforms with the guidelines and protocols for COVID prevention. It is not where you are going to copy. You are going to think, what do I have to put in place that will make this compliant? So came in the whole issue of where you are going to put your sanitizers as important. You're going to put your lesser things, so we don't need sanitizers. You just walk in and something sanitizes you as you go into that building. The seats that rotate, you know, those little robots, you sit in an office and they just pass around sniffing and sanitizing you. That was engineering. I said, look, we can't do exams by testing students on their capacity to think out solutions to problems. The chairs we sit on, the beds we sleep in, the pens we used to write, the buildings we live in, and so on. Human engineering. Be concerned about that. Talk about it during this conference more, and your teachers are here, and they elaborate this. And now that I'm pitching you on it in this world of technology, one time you have had, I'm a teacher of human anatomy. Human anatomy, you go to the lab and dissect, methodically expose structures. So I was teaching and a student was on phone. So I got a little upset when I was younger and I walked to them and I confiscated their phone. When they came for it, the student said, you know, Professor, I was actually just Googling what you're talking about, so I know where to find it next time. So I was not sending anything, I was just checking. In fact, if you give me the phone, if you didn't put it off, I'll show you what I was. For sure, that student was Googling the subject matter. Because in the university, you do not give the content, you give the outline, the students do the rest. So now you know you are going to be concerned about human engineering. There is something else that I want you to be concerned about. Environmental health safety engineering. It's a big thing. And I want you to be thinking about the fourth industrial revolution. This leveraging technology at a faster, more avid pace as you connect it to the third industrial revolution that Ayub Gitau talked about, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on. These are the hot topics now to be thinking about as you meet, as you network, focus on them. And you said challenges that come with it, such as scarce land. I want to persuade you that there is no scarcity of land. What we need to be thinking about is how to efficiently utilize the land that's available. For example, concept of arid lands hydraulic engineering. And the American Society of Civil Engineers puts out a call every year to close in October, Arid Lands Hydraulic Engineering Award. And so there I pitch you, these are current issues. The world is willing to fund them. They are relevant. The other one related to that is about climate smart agriculture. And I'm glad the Dean is an agricultural engineer. So we'll be concerned about food and agriculture from an engineering perspective. The production of that food, the storage of that food, the preservation and the processing of that food. So what are the possible research areas that you begin to think about? There are many, and your teachers will tell you about them. Environmental conservation, waste management, and occupational health. Number 3, what are the skills you ask? I can summarize by saying the skills required in the fourth industrial revolution. But I want you to focus on communication and collaboration. Communication, communication, communication. I want you to focus on problem solving and decision making and data management. Engineers, and Goro said it very ably, must be concerned about decision making. Good decisions will be based on data. Critical thinking, creative thinking, stress management, time management. Those are skills that you are going to have to cultivate from your days of student engineers as you become graduate engineers, become consulting engineers. Those soft skills, they're actually called life skills. And there's a whole set of 10 of them. Anybody who asks me, Professor, what else do I require? Tell them life skills, the soft skills that you require. Finally, you ask me what are initiatives the administration has put in place to support you as students related to this. And the dean has already said them. I will emphasize because you gave me the syllabus. The curriculum. Management has insisted on revision of curricula. And in revising the curriculum, the industry partners must be involved. So the curriculum you are being trained on, which has already been revised, has the input of these partners of yours. Only last year we approved a mentorship policy and mentorship guidelines. And the posting of an assistant dean of students, who is also the counselor, is part of that initiative. And the mentorship structure that exists in your faculty, from the leader of your course, to the head of department, to the program coordinator, to the dean, to the supervisor of your project, internal, to the placement you get out there, the attachment sites you go. And I'm glad Bildad said, oh, Bwana Yeko, so does your ministry have opportunities for internship? Yes, it is compulsory, and there is no shortage. The third is that the university has put in place provision and requirement for industry gurus to come and speak to you periodically, and for them to be engaged in teaching you. So, for example, if there is somebody out there in the ministry or in private sector who is very good in irrigation engineering, there is in place structure, mechanism for the department to invite that irrigation engineer to come and give you a series of lectures that anchor you and enhance your interest in that matter. That script. Student work study programs, both internal and external, and these are written guidelines on that. So As you sat with Gakuru, as you sat with IESC, and you gave them, take their contact. They connect you to somebody, offices, to their ministries, where students can go and do work study. And the internships now, by the way, are organized by the Public Service Commission, and there's a stipend. And the university has formally subscribed. The Office of the Dean of Students has a section for placement. And thank you, Tune, for saying it. Last year alone, over 1,000 students were placed. Placement for attachment, placement for internship, placement for externship, placement for cultural immersion. That office exists, that section exists, it's resourced, it is supervised, and the outputs are measured. I would be happy to hear that so many students of engineering have benefited from that. The other day, number 6, the Dean's Committee approved that we must now have a common course for all students on entrepreneurship. And the Faculty of Business and Management Science has been tasked with the responsibility of coming out with a contemporary 45 to 90-hour entrepreneurship program for all of us who are not in the School of Business. And this should be rolled out in the next 6 months or so for you to take. It's likely going to be online. And finally, in the people and data reform, very high premium is placed on experiential learning. So we are cataloging, we are mapping all the areas, actual and potential, for experiential learning or various professional courses. We already know some for you. We are looking out to expand the scope of those places you can have experiential learning. Therefore, my dear students, management is happy with your initiative and supports and will continue to support to the extent possible all the initiatives that enrich your training, that you come out are truly well, fully baked student engineer that progress to become a successful, effective graduate engineer that will serve as an engineer, successfully complying with the law that Goro has talked about. Thank you very much, and I wish you a fruitful participation. It is now my pleasure to invite a very pleasant, very seasoned, hands-on accountant who performs the work of engineers and is very vast with the energy sector. Mr. Zachary Ayeko is a chief administrative secretary in the Ministry of Energy and is a managing director, Power Hire, East Africa. And he's been involved particularly in rural electrification in that sector. Because of his realization that when you do that, you respond to all the things we've talked about. The communication, your phones get charged, industry, and all those things. So I would like all of us to just arise as blood circulates and you clap as you warm as we wait for Zachary Ayeko. Ayeko, karibu. Choma. Moja, mbili, tatu, funga. Ayeko.
Thank you, Professor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, for that wonderful welcome. I was not expecting it, and thank you for that. The rest of the students, thank you so much. I'm here representing the Minister for Energy. So whatever brief speech she has given me, I'm going to read word by word because we are not supposed to add any words to those ones. Otherwise, you might find yourself misinterpreting what the CS wanted to tell you. So, apologies from the Minister for Energy, Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma, who is away on some other businesses. So she requested me, even though in the government sector, we work like soldiers. You are not requested, you are directed. And the directive you are given, you must adhere to it. If you miss it by a single step, you are out completely. So I've been directed to carry out this function on our behalf this morning, and I'm gladly carrying it out. Of course, the Professor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, has given a short brief about myself. I've been in the energy sector for many years. I'm an accountant, finance by profession, which I did from the University of Nairobi some years back. But from the time I started working, I've been working with engineers and technicians. And all through, when I was doing the work of rural education, I earned another title from some other people. But of course, I can't introduce myself for that. Otherwise, I'll be committing a crime. Most of the people who know me call me Engineer Yeko. And I gladly say yes, but I'm not an engineer. But by experience, I have been working with the engineers and the technicians all through my working life. And these are people I really highly appreciate. So let me go back to the speech of the minister. It is my pleasure to welcome such a wonderful audience for the two-day conference, one of its kind, the country's largest engineering students' symposium. The Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Ogengo, Dean Faculty of Engineering, Professor Gitau. We have the Director from Kenya, Engineer Henry Gakuru, Deputy Dean of Students. We have Engineer Goro who started the keynote speeches, and he gave a very, very eloquent start. Chairs from the different engineering departments, distinguished guests, engineers, and most importantly, students who have pieced all this together. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I believe we have sat for a long time, and we might be going down on energy with sugar levels, but I think we can put up for about 5 minutes. I wouldn't take long. Good morning. I salute you all, and by extension, His Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta sends his salutations. For wherever I go, that is the minister, not me. Wherever I go, in my capacity, I'm his messenger on duty. I've been introduced myself, but the person we should have introduced, whom I'm speaking for, is the ambassador, whose speech I'm reading, the Minister of Energy. The institutional structure of the energy sector, which the ambassador now heads, comprises of, I saw quite a number of those parastatals here. Kengen, which is the generator, the major generator. Now in Kenya, we have so many generators, but Kengen is the major national generator. Then we have Kenya Power Lighting, which is the main distributor. We have Ketraco, which is the main transmitter. We have GDC, Geothermal Development Company, which does the drilling of the wells in Rift Valley. We have now REREC, which had started as REA, which handles the Rural Education Authority, matters. Then we have NUPEA now, the nuclear agency, and these are most of the parastatals in the ministry that the minister is superintending on. I, as the Cabinet Secretary, oversees the execution of the mandate of the ministry, which entails provision of clean, sustainable, affordable, reliable, and secure energy services for national development while protecting the environment. Our vision, which is affordable, quality energy for all Kenyans, fits well with the theme of this conference, Engineering for Humanity. In my position, I have interacted with many of your kind, smart, brilliant, creative engineers, so this feels like home. As a ministry and the State Department of Energy, we are mandated to generate policies designed to create an enabling environment for efficient operation and the growth of the energy sector. Our directorates in the ministry include geo-exploration, renewable energy, electrical power, general administration and support services that facilitate the delivery of our mandate. Energy being one of the key enablers of Vision 2030 and an enabler for the transformation into a newly industrializing middle-income country providing high quality of life for all citizens in a clean and secure environment. As a corollary, it is in cooperation with the design of sustainable living for man in an ever-evolving world is of paramount importance. From the aforementioned, the seeming interrelation of the ministry's mandate with your theme is apparent. Engineering for humanity, responsive, human-centered engineering practice, and the space of the engineer in the daily living of man. This can be broken down into relatable, pertinent topics of discussion that we can ponder on. Let us reflect on renewable energy, which is a major area of development now, designing sustainable urban cities and infrastructure, the blue economy, what it means to our country and its implication to the people, environmental sustainability and the climate adaptation, all this in the focus of putting man at a better niche. Reflecting on the value of engineering to the energy sector, I wish to indicate the imperative to create energy dependence, where we build the capacity to innovate relevant technology that responds to our needs and growing our renewable energy portfolio in order to drive growth. So we are looking to you as young people. You have been described so eloquently by your professors to move us away from the near total dependency on engineers and researchers from outside our country. These are very common phenomena, and especially after so many years that we have had so many graduates who are actually doing very well. I remember one time when I was in Kenya Power Lighting, heading KPLC, I had to put a lot of fight against, I don't know if I can call it importation, because a number of our technicians and engineers were being poached from Kenya, some other countries like Canada. And I soon found out that the training that we normally carry out for the technicians and the engineers in Kenya is so high that the demand for that is very, very high. So that is something you should give yourself, at least some commendations to yourselves. You are doing a wonderful job, so please, we need to believe in ourselves such that we don't have to rely on some other people from outside. And what happens normally, I've seen from the experience, is that this consultant comes from outside. His or her qualifications might even be lower. In fact, they're even lower than yourself. They come and they find out what you have written, what you know. They write it down, and they come out, and they are given very heavy consultation fees, which are about huge amounts. They can be 20, 30 times what you are being paid yourselves. So what I'm encouraging yourselves is to come up with a lot of, you must believe in yourselves. The training that goes on in our local university, and especially the University of Nairobi, is so high. So please come out believing in yourselves and knowing very well you have a lot. And the more you believe in yourself, the more you learn. You learn a lot more from others. We have a lot of expertise locally, and we can do a lot for ourselves. And also, we have some expertise we can export to other places, not being taken away, because they have just come to realize something that we don't know, that we have got some better trained people here than some other places. So preeminently, I would like to congratulate the Engineering Students Association and the engineering students of the University of Nairobi for the courage and diligence you have shown in this amazing conference, right from its conceptualization to now it is realization. This is impressive. It is in such a forum that we address and customize the UN SDGs for the present and future generations of our nation. This poses a challenge to engineers within and without to heed my call for creativity and innovation in delivering sustainable projects downright from a performance, technical, environmental, economic, upright to the ethical point of view. In so doing, our work will be nothing short of goodness and excellence for the benefit of all and sundry. Through the integration of sustainability and humanity into engineering practice and activity, we are guaranteed of a blooming nation in the offing. As a matter of course, this is a conversation our nation ought to have, and is long overdue. The ministry in its capacity shall also be keen on this matter, and of course, I take cognizance of the fact that from time to time, we do take in interns, and they always do exceptionally very well. I look forward to further engagements with the Engineering Students Association of the University of Nairobi in providing opportunities to the students, research and development, and predominantly putting engineering students in the lead. I would like to continue, but allow me to stop here so that more interesting sessions of the day may ensue as we note of the brilliant minds present. Thank you so much for being all ears. God bless the University of Nairobi, and may He endow our country all the more abundantly. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I wish you all the very best. And you are welcome. The ministry and the parastatals, which I'm heading as the Cabinet Secretary, not myself, the Cabinet Secretary, Monica Juma. Thank you so much. All the very best.
We will have 4 cohorts for a photo session. One with our guest. Kindly, gentlemen, join the CES on stage. And the representative from the Office of the Dean of Students, please, sir, join the CES on stage. Kindly move the Dean, Faculty of Engineering, Engineer Goro. The Assistant Dean of Students from Faculty of Engineering, Mrs. Gaturi, be left on stage and to be joined by the ESSA Executive Committee, the Vice Chair, the Academic Secretary, the Assistant Academic Secretary, the Secretary General, wherever you are, students, ladies, the ESSA Executive Committee. Mr. CS, the gentleman who just joined you is the ESSA Vice Chairperson. He is the very deputy to a very able chairperson. Thank you so much. The ESSA exec, you may exit the stage. Next, we're going to have the IESC committee, the Den head, and the International Engineering Students Conference. Our accounts are very, very good. I believe all the Den heads have joined us. You can see that the Engineering Students Association is well fed with gender balance. We are a blessed faculty. Thank you for those of us who have joined us on stage already. These are going to be the ladies and gentlemen who will replace you in your offices. They are very able, trust me. Through the hands of Professor Ayub Gitau, he has molded them to be the best. You can see that one is ready. He is very much ready for the work that lies ahead of him. Huyo mwingine ameitiwa kazi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. CAS.
I believe that's done. So now let's settle down. Those still in motion, let's settle down. We'd just like to, with a proven background in 360 productions, simulations, 360 animations, and VR games for Fortune 500 companies and NGOs based all around Africa. He founded Fallowhide Studio, a virtual reality studio dedicated to creating corporate VR solutions.
A virtual reality producer, but today I come as Jenge Culture as a social action coordinator. And today we will be speaking about engineering.
Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today in the sight of humanity, and these engineers to join together sustainability and engineering in a much-needed matrimony. So yes, this is a wedding. I'm going to briefly describe what Sustainable Development Goals are. The Sustainable Development Goals are simply the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They address the global challenges that we face. And of course, maybe I can quickly list some of these sustainable goals. There are 17. So goal number 1 is no poverty. 0 hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequality, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace and justice and strong institutions, and lastly, partnerships to achieve engineering a more sustainable world. So engineers have played a vital part in making over the planet through inventions and therefore a big impact on profitable growth and the quality of life of all humanity. Engineers are now needed much more to change the world. One that's committed to a sustainable development for all. This needs new forms of engineering and engineers to include values and objects of sustainable development into their work. Government, policy makers, and therefore the community have to understand the key role of engineering for sustainable development. So what are the key SDGs for engineers? Goal 6, clean water and sanitation for all, has a few targets that we want to reach before 2030. And I will touch on the targets that specifically speak to engineers. Increase water, use efficiency, and ensure fresh water supplies. Implement integrated water resource management. Expand water and sanitation support to support developing countries. And I think that's quite important because it would be lovely if we came up with our own solutions rather than looking towards the West or the East for solutions. Availability of sustainable energy sources. That's goal 7. Double the improvement in energy efficiency. Promote access to research, technology, investments in clean energy. And lastly, increase global percentage of renewable energy. And I think this has been a large drive, especially in the rural areas, and maybe soon enough, I think that's an idea to bring more into the urban centers to normalize renewable energy. Goal 9, creating strong and resilient infrastructure. Now, the 3 targets here that might be of use, especially to engineers, and that would be promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, upgrade all industries and infrastructure for sustainability, support domestic technology development, and industrial diversification. Yeah, so I think also inclusivity is so important that we look at and not just only social backgrounds, look at gender, look at all sorts of minorities, that we can include them in this creating strong and resilient infrastructure that is inclusive and sustainable. Goal 11, livable cities. Targets are safe and affordable housing, affordable and sustainable transport system, implementing policies for inclusion, resource efficiency, and disaster risk reduction. I think that one's a bit self-explanatory. So once that, as an engineer, I think once that interest is set, solutions that provide resilient infrastructure, sustainable energy, and access to the newest communication technology is the direction to go towards. Leveraging existing and widely deployed technologies and future developments in ICT, including next-generation mobile broadband, the web of things, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and others. Now, we cannot talk about engineering if we're not talking about an inclusive engineering. So I want to speak about women in engineering. Females account for less than 10.6% of engineering graduates. That's 1,519 out of the total of 14,320 graduates. It's a bit maddening. If colleges, universities, and STEM workplaces implemented the challenges necessary to accommodate women and supply more support and a more positive environment for them to specialize in their skills without pressure that men don't have, we might not only see more women in STEM, but even be ready to combat the excess of unfilled STEM positions. As I conclude, they say most people believe if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I believe engineers believe that if it ain't broke, add more features. And I'm here asking you today, could you please make one of those features sustainability? Thank you.
Thank you, Walid, if I may stand. Thank you for the presentation, but I'd like you to just tell us what Jenge culture is, because you've explained SDGs and a number of them, but particularly we don't know what Jenge culture is.
So Jenge culture is a Pan-African social change initiative that promotes culture and translates social concern into creative social action in Africa. We are non-profit registered in Kenya, and we are quite new to this space, but that's who we are. We have a very beautiful space in Embakasi where we incubate, we also host creatives and events that are about social action. So we're not just looking at creatives, we're also looking for innovators. That's why it was so important for us to be here today.
Thank you so much. Any other question to him about Jenge culture, about what they do or how they include student engineers in the programs?
Hello, if I may ask, what inspired the inception, or what was the thought behind the inception of the Jenge culture?
Great. So how do I put this? We've really felt like there's gaps that the youth feel. We can't stay still and kind of look away. So we came together and we decided that, hey, we can fill in these gaps. We are innovators, we are creatives, we're youth. We can come and talk about these things through our partners, through the events that we have. We can provide a space like we do in Embakasi for people who feel like, hey, I want to do something about ABCD. And the SDGs are actually quite important to us. So those are the kind of the social actions that we really try to implement on a daily. So for us, it's more like getting off the seat and saying, you know what, I want to take a turn at the driver's seat. As a youth, what can I do to fill in these gaps of social action?
Is that satisfactorily answered? Any other question from the audience? Any other question or comment?
Hi everyone, my name is Faith. A member of Jenge Culture. Mine is to sensitize on how an engineer can benefit as a member in Jenge Culture. So as an engineer, how can I use my profession and my skills to create a social impact? How can I use what I am able to do to bring a change? So majorly that is how an engineer can contribute to the society globally and even in Africa. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that. So if we have 1 second, I'd like to bring in Peter.
Go ahead. Peter?
Peter, wherever you are, you can just wave. Yeah, so Peter will talk about how Jenge culture and students, we have a students program where we do really amazing things. So he's going to talk about that.
Okay, thank you so much. Our team lead is called Floodwell, currently in Tunisia. So I'm the student network lead, and how our goal, as Walid has said, is to connect and support Africa's creators, which creators is broad. You are a content creator, YouTuber, a graphic designer, you are an innovator, an engineer, an architect, a web developer. So, and you're a student. How can you participate in the big Africa's agenda? So how do we do that as students? The goal is to have a global students network across Africa, because our mantra is to connect and support Africa's creators, innovators, and change makers. So across Africa, and also regionally, 6 regions we'll be operating on. That is the West Africa, East Africa, North Africa, Central, and Africa in the diaspora. And the goal is, how can we bring these creatives and innovators together and allow them to champion social action? How can they translate social action, social concerns to social action? For example, you're an engineer or architects who come together. We have the Dadaab refugee camp. We have a residency program where you can come together, do a residency project towards, for example, you're passionate about sustainable cities and communities. How can you plug into that as an engineer, as an architect? So you can think about an idea. For example, the Dadaab refugee camp. Can you come with sustainable community for such a community there? For example, currently we're having a residency project for multimedia students who are film students. They're doing something towards World Autism Day. They're doing a film, PSA, to raise awareness. So so how can you as an engineer participate in social action? Basically for us, it's an avenue, it's a vehicle for you to participate, to making Africa a better place. And other than that is to connect with other creatives or other innovators. You meeting with other architects, other engineers, other creatives. How can, Walid is a virtual reality guy, how can you infuse your engineering idea to what he is doing? So under the Changemaker community, or how can you meet with other engineers? Like Faith is an engineer from Multimedia University. How can you come together and do something to make Africa better? So what we do basically is providing a community or a support center where you can come and do something for social action, or you can come and meet other people, connect with other people, and see what can you do. Other than that is, how can you even monetize? How can you market yourself? How can you make your engineering experience more transformative and not just monetary wise, but also impact. For example, how can you infuse the environment to your engineering idea? What I think the CS was talking about. How can you bring your idea about the project, about the building, and include trees or forestry? So basically, ours is a community. It's a community of creatives, innovators, and change makers, people who are passionate about change. If you're not a change maker, then our goal is to make you a change maker using your expertise, your school. For example, you're a marketing student, you can also become a change maker. What about circular economy? How can we ensure that we are making Africa better? Because as Walid had said, Africa can be great if we Africans take the forefront to ensuring that we spearhead change and development in our own country. For example, this road here was made by Chinese, whatever. We can do that. We can come together, think about something outside the box. How can we make Africa? So that is basically what we do at the Students Network, bringing students together at a student chapter, and also nationally, and also and globally as well. So yeah, that is it from me.
Thank you very much.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we wind up and speed up this conference, before we go for lunch, of course, we'll hear from one very great engineer. We have a visitor from KENHA, the Kenya National Highways Authority. Kindly, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Engineer Henry Gakuru to give his address, to inform us, to impart wisdom upon us, and so that by the time he's done, we're going to have learned something more. Karibu, Engineer.
Thank you very much. I would like to recognize the CS, Minister of Energy, represented by Zachary Ayeko, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Dean of Faculty, Dean of Students, Department Chair, represented by Engineer Rogo, students, engineers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon. Yes, my name is Engineer Henry Gakuru. I work with the Kenya National Highways Authority as a Deputy Director in charge of highway design. And I've dealt with many students who have been attached to KENHA and those who are also in the program of internship with KENHA. So we really relate well or associate well with the students we value. So I'm honored to join you today for this year's Engineers Students Association Conference, International Conference, and I stand before you representing the Kenya National Highways Authority Director General, Engineer Kungundungu. Allow me to introduce KENHA and what we actually do. KENHA was started under the Kenya Roads Act of 2007 and it started its operations in 2008. And our mandate is to develop, rehabilitate, manage, and maintain the national trunk roads, that is Class A, Class B, and Class S, where Class S are the superhighways. We have got quite a large or a huge part of the network in Kenya because our network is about 21,000, slightly over 21,000 kilometers in the Republic. And we have got slightly over 12,000 kilometers paved roads. The balance is about over 9,000 kilometers, which comprises of gravel roads, earth roads, which are yet to be improved to that standard of bitumen standard. So you realize that we have quite a lot of work for majority of civil engineers who are upcoming, who are there in the industry, and you are among them. So I'm proud and I'm happy to see student engineers who will be coming to take over the job or to proceed and to take over what we are currently doing and to ensure that what we have invested in as a country in our road network is well maintained. I would want to say that you couldn't have had a better theme for this international conference better than engineering for humanity. It is broad, but it resonates very well with the purpose of engineering. And I would say that the reason why we have engineers is to give solutions to the challenges that are affecting humanity or human beings. And therefore, the theme that you are having, it being so broad, it is so much well integrated or aligned with the purpose for engineering. And I would like to give you some examples of what KENHA has done and what we are doing, and align those examples with the theme of engineering for humanity. Because I can assure you that all what we do at KENHA, the innovations that we do while carrying out our assignment or our mandate is actually the root cause of that is to try and solve a problem which is affecting humanity. We have problems which involve time saving, safe movement from point A to point B, economic activities, security concerns, among others. And what I'm going to give you are examples of what KENHA is currently undertaking, has undertaken in the recent past, just to emphasize or to highlight the importance of the theme that you are having today, and to enable you to see it in practice in what has been done under the KENHA authority. I would like to associate myself with the theme because engineers are problem solvers. Increasingly, our profession is tangled with the most pressing social challenges in our era. Engineers have been able to counter these problems that are created by nature or by the activities of man, which sometimes result from projects that we have considered successful or we have triumphed in the past, which have been caused or has been done by the engineers. A good example is what KENHA is now trying to do under Makupa Causeway. We are doing a modern bridge that is across that creek. And the reason why we have removed the Makupa Causeway is to allow free flow of water and ensure that we have enhanced our environment and have improved for the future generation. So you accept you agree with me that that is a social problem that we have tried to solve, which is connected to enhancing the environment for ourselves and for the future. So we need to safeguard the marine life, and the main reason for that bridge or for removing the causeway to do exactly that, to safeguard the marine life for our future generations. The same case had happened on Beta Causeway. The causeway was functional. It was meeting some engineering objectives, but then it had had in-depth effects on the environment. Beta Causeway is in Nyanza, and it was connecting the Rusinga Island with Beta Island. These are just examples of projects that we have undertaken that have impacted on environment and the social life. Yes, we pride also for being at the forefront of giving solutions to situations that have been brought forth by the COVID-19 requirements. The pandemic required that we keep social distance. And we noted that at the ferry, the Likoni ferry, there were stampedes at times. And when the COVID-19 struck, people were not able to keep social distancing as required. So there were delays. There was time lost while waiting to meet the requirement of the space. And Kenhal, through innovation, developed a floating bridge. This Likoni ferry is a service that has been relieved by this bridge. People have realized or have been walking over the floating bridge, and the Likoni ferry services have been relieved to provide the other users with space. In fact, yesterday it was in the newspapers that apart from meeting that objective of creating space and allowing our people to move freely across the mainland and the island of Mombasa, the bridge was being captured as an enabler of the tourism industry in the southern coast of Kenya. So apart from meeting the objective, you see it is meeting other advantages. It's coming with other advantages or other economic benefits that had not actually been considered while coming up with a project. So these are some of the things that we have done, and you agree so far the projects that we have undertaken have got the social aspect mainly. So we are mainly looking at giving solutions to humanity or to problems that are affecting humanity. We have got the northern Kenya region, which was recently, in the recent past, it was not reachable. It was, remote. You could not go all the way to the southern Sudan border within a day. We have done several bridges. You are all aware of the Kainuk Bridge. Kainuk Bridge used to flood every other rainy season, and once it flooded, it came with a lot of heavy damage. People could not pass, people drowned, and right now what we have is a bridge that is, I would say, is serving the purpose. It's not prone to flooding, and it has its own resilience to the problems that affected that region. We have other areas along that road where we had problems of drainage, and people now can move throughout, whether it is rainy or shiny or it is shiny. And the trade between Kenya and Sudan and other adjacent, in the region has really been improved. We have given people opportunity from that region to improve on business or to get into, profitable businesses. And the situation is very different from what was there before. And people now can move throughout, whether it is rainy or shiny or it is shiny. And the trade between Kenya and Sudan and other adjacent, in the region has really been improved. We have given people opportunity from that region to improve on business or to get into, profitable businesses. And the situation is very different from what was there before. And those people from that region can actually can tell you that the impact we have had is a very significant impact to the humanity. We have Apart from that one, we have this other region towards Ethiopia. We have improved the link between Ethiopia and Kenya, and that corridor from Moyale coming back to Isiolo, you could take a minimum of 3 days to travel when it was not tarmac. Right now, it has been tarmac. You take only 1 day to get to Moyale. And this has had its own economic impact. It has had solutions to security concerns. And currently, what we are doing to improve that area, we are having the corridor towards Moyale being constructed. This is from Isiolo now to Moyale. And once this is done, it will improve the area in terms of security. It will open the area for businesses, and even people from that region will be able to access institutions of learning, that is for education. They will be able to get quality health. They will access the markets. They will be able to sell their livestock and also buy other agricultural produce from the markets. So the livelihood of people in that region will significantly be improved and different. So I'm saying this so that you try to connect the engineering for humanity theme, so that you try to see how engineering projects resonate well with that theme of engineering for humanity. I would like to, I've highlighted several projects, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to connect the maintenance of our roads, how we maintain, how we do virtual way bridges. These are the innovations that we have, and they are meant for saving time. While transporting goods through our road network, it's been taking too long to get clearance. It's been getting too long to get weighed. The static weighing was taking longer. And we have now been able to install the virtual way bridges where vehicles are weighed in motion. They can be identified, the type, the weight, even the speed at which it is moving. And this has really improved in time saving for transporting of goods within our network. These are innovations, and they are meant for saving time for humanity, affecting or improving the humanity, the life or the standards of living of people. Colleagues, I'm not here to boast about Kenha's achievement, but to challenge our approach to engineering. The methods of problem solving implemented today may not have been precedented before. Our work today has a human interest rooted in them. My plea to you is to look at immediate challenges we are facing and come up with solutions. Or better still, try to anticipate the problems we are yet to face. Let us look at the global sustainable development goals and see how we can align ourselves to the needs of the 21st century. So finally, I encourage everyone to keep up with the good work in our journey as young professionals. I hope to meet you soon in the field as an ambassador in this profession. We have had several engineers who are attached in our organization. We have several who are in an internship and others who have been recently employed. And I can assure you that Kenha is yet to have enough of the expected labor force. So be hopeful, do your part as a student, and once you are through, once you are successful with the studies, we will be very happy and glad to welcome you to work with us. We work together and build this nation. Once again, I'm very happy seeing the students, the number of students who are engineering students. It is an assurance that we have a future in the engineering profession. We always say that a species that doesn't reproduce itself gets extinct. When I see civil engineers, mechanical engineers, agriculture engineers, all types of many engineering, some of which are coming up now, like mechatronics and others, it gives us hope and assurance that the future is catered for, because without engineers, the future may. Thank you very much. Have an enjoyable conference.
I believe we've been able to get some lovely, wonderful insights into what goes on in the Ministry of Transport. So those who have an interest in that field, now you know the state corporations to approach. And in the same spirit, we'd like to acknowledge KERA, Kenya Rural Roads Authority. I hope I got that right. I'd like to acknowledge them. They are one of our sponsors. They've been very instrumental in getting this day to happen. So we appreciate KERA. We'd like to move on to the next item. There is a panel discussion, as alluded to by what's going on in the stage. This is our last session just before lunch, so let's hold on a bit, then we'll be able to break. For our panel discussion, I'll welcome our moderator. Our moderator is Hannah Wanjao. Pardon me. Hannah Wanzao, she's a fourth-year mechanical engineering student, and she's also a treasurer in Engineering Without Borders Society. I'll welcome her, then she'll take over and welcome the panelists of the day. So let's stay attentive, minimize motion, and
good afternoon. As you've heard, my name is Hannah Wanjao, and I am a fourth-year mechanical engineering student, currently in my second semester. And I've been moderating the panel. And our topic for discussion today is responsive, human-centered engineering practice. A lot has been talked about in regards to our theme, which is engineering for humanity. And I don't think we can go without talking about human-centered, user-centered design and design thinking as well in regards to our theme. So I'm just going to introduce the panelists for this panel. And I will start off with Dr. Jama. He's a senior lecturer in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Kindly, Dr. Jama, if you would join us on stage. Then we have, yes, thank you. We have an engineer from L'Oreal, Engineer Aditya. He's the plant director at L'Oreal, East Africa. Kindly, let's welcome him. We also have Engineer Alexandra. She is a CEO and Managing Director at ArtScope Ventures. Engineer Alexandra, thank you. And then we have Jefferson Anduvate. Jefferson is an energy enthusiast, a safety engineer, a social entrepreneur, and Jeff was also a student here. He organized this conference some time back. He was the chair for ESA. Let's welcome him. And now we've been joined by the National Construction Authority, and Engineer Steven is here. He's a mechanical engineer by profession. Let's welcome him. Yes, and we're just going to start off right away because of time. We'll reserve the questions for the end. We'll have a question and answer session, brief one as well because of the constraints of time. Yes, and yeah, thank you. All right, so we're just going to start off. And like I said, our topic for the panel today is responsive, human-centered engineering practice. So my first question goes to Dr. Jama. Yes. In simple terms, what would you define as human-centered design in regards to engineering, especially you being our design lecturer in mechanical engineering?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the organizing committee for hosting such a wonderful conference, and I wish you success in the rest of the conference. In terms of human-centered, what we mean by human-centered is we want to meet the needs. One way of looking at human-centered is to look at what we call sustainable. And one way of looking at sustainability is to look at meeting the needs of society today without impacting on the needs of all people. For example, what we mean is if you use too much, for example, energy is based on fossil fuel in the environment, but we are also denying future generations the ability to be able to. So sustainability, I would look at sustainability as the ability to meet the needs of impacting on or this kind of energy.
Okay, first of all, good afternoon to everybody in the audience. Very happy to be back here. Thank you, ESA, for having me back here after 3 years. I did not expect to see so many faces because of the pandemic, but very, very happy to be here. So, coming back to your question, Hannah, I think any product is designed or produced with a customer in mind. So in fact, if you remove the customer out of the equation, it ceases to exist. The purpose of its existence is nullified. If you look at the concept of really design thinking, place the customer, the very center of it all, but not only. So as the professor said, there are other elements that are taken into consideration. For example, I take the example of my own industry, where it's not only the customer, but also how we are doing it inside the factories, inside the supply chains of the organization to make life easier for the person who's probably making that product. Okay, but really it starts with the consumer. There are a lot of focus groups. There are a lot of iterations that are done. So for example, a L'Oreal shampoo that you would have bought, I don't know, 20 years ago is not the same. It has undergone several changes in terms of its raw material content. We would have bought or designed it or changed the formula in such a way that it is sourced from more sustainable, let's say, supply chain sources. Maybe it uses less water in its production, less energy in the machines that are making the shampoo. So it's across the entire value chain. And an interesting fact I would like to throw out there really, perhaps many of you would know it, those of you who read these kind of things. In the life cycle of any product, the manufacture, supply and sale is less than 50% of its footprint. The real footprint and the real impact is in the consumer use, is in the post life, what happens after it goes into the garbage bin, what happens when it's recycled or not, and so on. So really human, not only customer, but all the stakeholders are really at the center of this kind of production.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, Engineer Gordo, it's about going back to first principles as engineers and looking at what started off in the beginning and up to now. And I think that in a way, this aspect of the customer or the user in mind as we design projects. So probably to Engineer Alexandra, do you think this is the wake-up call that we need to go back to design thinking and to go to a more customer-centric approach rather than formulas and technical stuff?
I think like if we don't involve the customer, then we are all going to grow here. Definitely, the technical aspect of engineering is crucial. The key element is how to explain your technical explanation to a client in layman. And as engineers, if you learn how to express yourselves in your projects to an accountant or to a developer or to someone who is involved in the process, you will thrive a lot. Then if you just go ahead and focus on the thermodynamics equations, sorry, I'm mechanical, so and you have to learn how to adapt because clients are more in humanity, and that means they are more emotional, and you can't come in all technical and just talking equations. You have to figure out how to interpret it to the client so that they come back to you for that.
Thank you for that. And as Jeff, she's talked about you need to explain the technicalities to the accountant, to the marketer, and probably when you're not the designers, like the urban planners, the construction, the civil engineering, electrical, and even you have been in the field not so long, but do you think there is that interdisciplinary approach when it comes to projects? The projects have been done. Do we get to involve all the faculties involved, not just designers and engineers, the marketers, the accountants, to talk about feasibility? Have you felt that in the field?
Good afternoon. I'm so excited to see everyone. Are you guys happy? I hope you learned something from this discussion. On to your question, there is a small dysfunctional sort of association amongst designers. I think why we are here is because we noticed like the business people would be more capitalistic. The contractors back then would be more like, let's complete this tender, let's deal in the next project. But we are, with the fourth industrial revolution and with a lot of talk on sustainability, the SDGs, we are now thinking of a circular economy, where as an engineer, if I want to design such a hall, of course I will go to the designer, the architect, and look for the technical aspects, but I also need to talk to the students I also need to talk to the teachers. How would you prefer this stage looks like? I also need to factor in those who may be disabled. There are those who may be short, there are those who may be tall. I can't build a stage that is just straight, So there's a lot of brainstorming required. Yeah. So appreciating our diversity of professionalism, you bring in even a layman and tell them what do you think about this idea. You collect data from a different set of people. You want to listen more, design something that will last for ages. So there's not this functional aspect that existed, and now people come into the realization that we need to do a lot of brainstorming. It's not just designing amazing buildings that will never be occupable and not meet the customer's need. You need to ensure that the customer has a good experience. So I think we are transitioning to now that circular economy where you also think of, in case there's a fire, Professor again mentioned, there's an aspect of safety engineering that is coming on board. In case there's a fire right now, have we been told how we're going to get this off? Probably we don't know. Look confused, and some of us might panic. We saw what happened in Western 2 years ago, where students panicked and was a rampage, set up an incident. So some things now need to come into design thinking. That's why we talk about human-centered, involve as many people, a diverse set of professionals.
Okay, you talked about there being a dysfunctionality that occurs in our designs, and I would like to pose my next question to Engineer Stephen. As part of the National Construction Authority, do you think Nairobi has been designed with the user, like in our urban planning, in our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, in our buildings, catering in the persons with disability? Do you think we have catered that into our design of Nairobi City, or even at large, our urban centers?
It's a pleasure to be here today. I want to appreciate the invitation to the National Construction Authority to participate in this. I know when you talk about NCA, ours basically is on the regulatory level, trying to look at what our engineers are doing on the ground. If you ask me as an engineer, that's a personal opinion, maybe it may not be the authority's opinion. I feel we are a bit shortchanged in terms of the infrastructure that is there in Nairobi. Because in terms of the planning itself, where we can be able to access public transport, that has been a big challenge. Because, for example, if you are working which example can I use? In the middle of the town, for you to be able to get out of that place conveniently, you have to access either Tomboya Street or go all the way to railway, which is not very convenient for a human being or a person who's working in town. And then also, given the history of Nairobi, Nairobi started as a small stopping place for the railway station. And the estimated population by then, I think they were working with around 70,000 people. You can imagine 70,000 to the 6 million that we are currently talking about. There's nothing much that has been done. The master plan that was used to create Nairobi is the same old one. We are still grappling. We're trying to bring on board a new master plan for the city. The other issue I've seen, issues of public spaces where we can be able to have maybe rest, issues of walking in town, and I think I want to appreciate the government that in the recent past they've tried to create a lot of walking spaces in town. You've asked about the disability. Nairobi is not very friendly to the disabled. There is a lot of challenges there. Crossing the road, the zebra crossing is too busy for a person who is blind to cross. So there is a lot of need that is needed to be done. And as NCA, I think we've come on board very strongly in terms of bringing on board the National Building Regulation, which is a very good document and performance-based, which will be able to allow that when you're doing your designs, all these things are taken care of. When you want to build your building, put up your building, then you need to also take care of the people who are around that building to make sure that you're also serving them. You're not serving your own interest of making your house, but you're serving the public that is going to use that building. So the National Building Regulation, which is currently at Parliament level, will be able to address quite a number of issues in terms of the human-centered designs for the city of Nairobi.
Okay,
Thank you for that response. And you talked about taking care of people. And I would like to pose a question to Engineer Aditya. How environmentally responsible and resource efficient are our manufacturing industries, the people who are giving us products? Do you think we are environmentally responsible enough as we take care of our citizens in terms of pollution, the sustainability?
It's a very tricky question. I'm going to try my best to encapsulate what I know. So firstly, probably a little bit provocative, but I don't believe there is anything called environmentally responsible. It is environmentally preferable. Anything you do today is going to sort of have some impact on the environment. On the question of how responsible or environmentally better we are in terms of processing industries, manufacturing industries and so on, I think there's a long way to go. We are doing something, but we are just scratching the surface, I would say. Across the continent, I haven't seen really any industries that can boast or claim to be fully circular economy, circular loop, water positive, carbon positive, any of these things. So really on the continent, it's a big challenge. Across the world as well, I know people are claiming several things, but still it is not at the level that it could be. Because today I still think, as one of the distinguished panelists was saying, it's still a bit of a challenge between the bottom line and how responsible we can be. So it starts, I would say, first with legislation and government, which I'm very happy to hear what the NCA is doing for construction in the country. The second one is really for also civil society to say that, if you hear of X and Y industry being shut because they are not following certain environmental laws, I mean, you stop using that product because the consumer has a very strong voice, and today I don't think we really know the strength that we have, right? Case in point is Volkswagen, when they tried to fake some emissions on the meters. When people stopped buying Volkswagen cars, or when they said, no, I'm not going to buy a Volkswagen anymore, it really hit where it matters, and the stock prices fell. And now today, again, I don't know if you guys know, but Volkswagen is today the second biggest electric car manufacturer in the world, right? So imagine a few years ago they were in a big scandal, and today it's changed. So that's to speak about the consumer voice. But straight answer to your question is, we are doing something, but it's really scratching. It's the tip of the iceberg. We're not doing enough.
Okay. I hope we'll be doing better with time, and I believe that's why we are having these conversations, so that we can improve with our future engineers, that is our students. And you talked about electric vehicles, and probably to shift gears a bit, and to Dr. Jamo.
Thank you. Yes, I believe we are ready. As a country in Kenya, we are ready for electrical vehicles. We have good capacity. So what happens, and majority of our electricity is generated through hydro, through geo, and through wind. So wind is now contributing about 20% of our electricity that we are consuming. So I confidently say more than 70% of the electricity that we consume is renewable energy. So this is good news, which means basically Kenya should be what. But on the other hand, if we all went out and bought electrical vehicles, not hybrid, but straight electric, and we all plugged at home, I don't think the electrical grid will be able to cope with that. So we need to find a way to manage the demand and basically look at it from that perspective. The other thing is we are ready because, as you are aware, right now we have two locally assembled electric vehicles. There's a bus company. There's also another one that is doing omnibus. You guys know about it. I think we are at the right place. I think it's just consumers, us, people who are buying vehicles, and also the government to try and give us a little bit extra push in terms of giving preference to less polluting vehicles, not necessarily electrical vehicles, but less polluting vehicles, and I think we'll get there.
Thank you for that response. You said we have the capacity in terms of electricity, but then our electricity is not reliable. Jeff, I know you are an energy enthusiast, and in terms of renewable energy also in that sector. So probably to ask, do you think it will be feasible to incorporate renewable energy, for example, solar, into our vehicles to mitigate the fact that electricity, our main grid electricity is not reliable?
I think it's possible to some extent. You can say vehicles that need to go for short mileages, just maybe within the town, motorbike, those can you can have a battery that charges them, that uses solar energy, and just for short distances. But apart from just solar, even our geothermal capacity is not exhausted, our hydro capacity is not exhausted, our wind capacity is not exhausted. Recently, in 2013, the Agency of Nuclear Energy was also instituted. That is just a tip of the iceberg of its potential. So, as Dr. Jama said, we have the capacity. We just need the users to demand for it, so that we have people setting up charging stations, people innovating. We also need students. By the way, we need engineers to do more of innovations. We recently, so I don't know if you've heard, you know Nora Magero. You guys know Nora Magero? She was, the president spoke about her during the International Women's Day, and she invented a fridge that uses solar, and you can store the vaccine. A simple innovation, but transforms life. So it is just up to us users to demand, and then the government as well, and then there'll be now the push from the generating companies to increase capacity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With all this, let me just call them challenges that we as our electric vehicles, and also the cost. For example, in converting our vehicles from the conventional ones to electric vehicles, I'd just like to ask Engineer Alexandra, do you think this is feasible? Electric vehicles are feasible for mass production and to be used eventually, and probably how far into the future?
Where we are at right now, like in building services, a lot of clients have been requesting having the electrical points and charging points, and there's a lot of LEED certification that requires that they show the initiative of trying to use electric buses and electric vehicles. And also a friend of mine owns a company that has an electric motorbike that is already launched, and it is possible. It just depends on the application. So the purpose of an engineer is to come up with a reason why we need it. And for me, when I think about it, why we need it is because we have all these Kenyans who go to the market every day, sell food every day. I know most of you know Club 30, and such people have to transport their goods. And if you think about it, the cost of them moving their things with cars and Ubers and tuk-tuks and motorbikes, it would be much easier if they were self-sufficient. And the point of an electric automotive vehicle or bike is for you to be more efficient in your business, to cut out the expenses as a business owner, where I have to keep on thinking, how am I getting from point A to B? It's not only just about the environment, but a better living standard for our fellow Kenyans. So where we're heading as Kenyans at the moment, everyone is actually looking in those directions, whether it's companies like AIH who are doing logistics and technology. There's even LPG that's being used instead. The key factor, which I'm glad that he mentioned, was the building regulation to accommodate these changes. So it is in effect, and there are a lot of companies right now who are going directly for solar energy in all aspects, including building services. It's actually a requirement according to the Energies Act to have this solar energy and renewable energy solution. So it is upon you as engineers, when you get into the field, to come and get the knowledge you require to give people what they need to have sustainable living and to reduce this carbon footprint. So I heard you mentioning, it's Aditya, Engineer Aditya. You mentioned something about L'Oreal and carbon footprint, and I think my thing with industrial is just finding out, do you recycle your water? I'm assuming yes, in your processes. Do you have wastewater treatment? Yes. Rainwater collection. So you may not be reducing like a certain percentage, but you're doing your part.
Okay, thank you for that response. And staying in matters sustainability and building for the future, I'd just like to ask Engineer Stephen, is there a balance between the design life of our infrastructure, our roads, our buildings, our social amenities, and the population growth that we are seeing? Are these amenities going to sustain us into the future for a longer time?
Okay, that's it's a design question. I'm not exactly comfortable to say that we have enough for the future, because our populations are growing every other day, especially the urban areas. And currently, especially if you look at the country Kenya, we've had a big influx of population moving into the urban areas, while the government is quite slow in terms of investing in infrastructure. You will see very many county headquarters or towns. It's right now that they are grappling with constructing roads, tarmacking. Everybody is moving into tarmacking. So you find that in a financial year, probably a government invests almost 50% of their budget just to do tarmac for roads. What happens to the other economic factors? So I feel our infrastructure currently may not be able to sustain, but what government is doing probably will be able to sustain that into the future because of the kind of investments that are being done. We are looking at the Big Four agenda, which has been pushed by government. Actually, it talks about those 4 areas which are very key for any population. Nairobi County has really pushed in terms of the health facilities. They've done quite a lot of investment in health facilities.
Well, before you go into the next session, we need to set some climate here. We need to heat up the temperature of this room. And for that, I will welcome a poet who is going to make a presentation to us. I hope we will enjoy, and I hope it will also be informative to us. So at this stage, kindly join me in welcoming Mike Mwangi. He's joining us from Kenyatta University, coming to make his presentation here at this conference. Karibu, Mike.
Hi guys. Mnanisikia? Nipungie mkono kama mnanichukia. My name is Michael Mwangi, and I'm so glad to be here from Kenyatta University, finalist in education, also the chairperson for Kenyatta University Career Week 2022, and I'm here to an extended invite from Greg, so I'm proud to be here. So apart from that, I also do spoken word. I'm going to spoken word hapa. Awesome. So how do we appreciate for spoken word to us? Sindio? Yeah, so this is a story of someone who alipendwa and the love went sour. So tukoredi to snap kiasi. Awesome. So nataka ugeukie mwenye kwa kanda yako, turn to your neighbor. Mwambie as much as umekaa chini umestand out. Najua mliamkia coffee na saa 4 mkakunywa tea. So sahihi mko fit. Mimi bila poetry ni kama ng'ombe homeless, yani ng'ombe bila makao. Na hii performance inaweza kosa kuwa jazz, juu sina saxophone. Na hii ndio story. So Njeri was her name and Tom was mine. Lakini ngetupata kijani tukicheza ngetuta Tom and Jerry, juu ile love ilikuwa imeshika kiteke. Ile love ilikuwa imenasa kuliko Jubilee. See, she was the bean in my getheri, apple of my eye, alafu security iko beefed up. Pima penzi ilikuwa ni balanced diet. See, she used to spend most of her time in the kitchen. I guess that's the reason why alikuwa ameiva, and that's why hungo impata Churchill Row, si ameiva. So sijui ningemwita Microsoft juu hii relationship ilikuwa na Excel. Sijui ningemwita supermarket juu kila saa ilikuwa ni yu, chum. Yaani yule alikuwa ananijenga kaka rombe, alikuwa ananichanga kiharambe. Yaani yako amesomea surgery lakini nijipata nikimfungulia roho. Yaani nilipenda Njeri to the point that hata angewahi naona, singewahi mwambia amenona, na mwambia hani you are made in the image of God, so the image of God is increased. So this day nimekam kijani, akaniambia buu nataka exams, yani mitihani. Nikajua this was the moment, kichwa ikaspin mawazo kibao. But before nifanyie upeli wa Kenari nikakumbuka, hii si ile dhambi nachekeshanga watu, nasikia inaitwa fornication. Na besides natumia wifi kijani, sitaki nipate mtu huyu nimetea bando na mtoe. Nitakuwa nimemkosea. So nika-retreat, akajam kuliko traffic. Na hapo ndio na horror juu nilichukua the wrong turn, and in the long run nimekabula nimepalikijes infatuation instead of true love. Infatuation juu siku hata nimetake time kula no man. Kumbe manzi alikuwa difficult mpaka ule Roswa TZ haizi muhando. Nasingewahi imagine tukuta full stop this relationship alafu nijipate inakoma nikiwa Mata Hospital nikitoa nitazina weight. Na hapo ndo nikajua before you make any decision lazima uwe informed. Before you make any decision lazima uwe informed. Na vijana tumekuwa na tendency ya kujenga watu wengine hata before tujijenge, and it's high time tujifunze. And so I learned over that so many lessons. Nikamkujua kwa hii life, number 1, usiwahi jikompea na mtu. You can still do things major hata kama unaitwa John Maina. Na usiwahi kuwa intimidated na size. Si hata ng'ombe ako na kichwa kubwa lakini mbuzi ndio ako na ndevu. And so that's why International Engineering Conference iko hapa. Na ni ya watu wote, hata nilipata first class na second hapa. Na najua so many guests have been lined up for you, because hata wewe kukuja event ulikuwa umepapa. Na so nikimalizia nataka niwaache na 2 or 3 points in life. Number one, everything you do ifanye na practicability. For example, learn kutembea na simu yako ikiwa na full charge. Juu ukipitia Roysambu simu yako inaweza zima maana. Alafu, number two, do your things with faith. Ukiitiwa job interview mahali, wewe bakano utakosa work. So I'm so glad to be here, make the amazing Kenyatta University.
The lines, the mysteries. That was such a wonderful presentation from Mike. Right now we're about to go on to the next session. We're having exhibitions, and I'd like to welcome Grace Kamau to come and take us through this next section. So round of applause for Grace.
Hi everyone, are we good? Have we eaten? So are we ready to learn? Are we? So we have 3 amazing workshops for you guys, 2 of which will be happening here at the main auditorium and 1 that will happen on 5th floor at a place called the Press Room. Paul is there. Paul is one of our coordinators. I believe he'll still be in this room. And Ramla, don't believe she's in this room. But I think Paul, if you can lead them to the Press Room, which is on 5th floor. Civil engineers or those interested in the building and construction industry, please go to 5th floor for your workshop. It's being led by a company called Kenya Green Building Society, and there's more to discuss where it is. So if you are in civil engineering and if you are interested in the construction industry, please go to 5th floor right now. You want to save time as much as possible. There's also communication going in your class group, so if you are in civil engineering or if you have friends there, please also tell them as well. In this main room, we have 2 companies. We have Geoid Technologies and we have Opibus. Geoid Technologies, they are going to actually be displaying or demonstrating how they do some of their surveying with actual drones. So that's so exciting for me, honestly. And we have Opibus, which that deal with electric mobility, electric cars, electric motorbikes for our electrical engineers in the room. And I hope it's going to be fun. So our first company that is coming to the stage is Opibus. I'd kindly ask our media team to coordinate, and can we please welcome the company to the stage?
Hello everyone, my name is Esther Wairimo. I'm a mechanical engineer at Opibus, current project lead line manager for electric 4x4. So today I'm going to do a presentation on electric mobility. Team can handle that. So I've prepared a small presentation for you guys on about Opibus and what we do and what we measure on and our business model. I'm waiting for you guys. So Opibus is a Swedish-based company. It was founded in Sweden by university engineers, and it was a project. It was a university project that they were doing, and they decided to come to Africa and set up their workshop over here. So that's when it was founded in 2017, and now we have our headquarters in Kenya, Nairobi, around Cabanas area. So that's where we are based at the moment. Our company vision is to make transportation more accessible to a broader market by making the technology more cost-efficient and sufficient deployment. So far over the years, since 2017, we've managed to collaborate with a couple of companies. We've done successful collaboration with clients back to back, and so far we've managed to convert 11 Land Cruisers and Land Rovers 4x4. So that is 9 Land Cruisers and 3 Land Rovers, mostly based in the world, some in Masai Mara, some in Chulu Hills, others in Savo. So that's where most of our 4x4 are. We've done a couple of bikes as well, 200 plus bikes at the moment. And we are also working on a public transport. We've managed to make a bus, a public transport bus, that is out on test at the moment, and soon will be released for the public to board. Our business profile is mostly 4x4 safari trucks, buses, public transport buses, and motorbikes. We also provide energy solutions. So for areas that our business profile mostly is electrification of transport system. But for areas that do not have access to grid system power, we install energy storage system that is solar and batteries. So it can work better for their charging station and their charging infrastructure for their bikes as well as their Land Rovers. In that situation, I'm referring to, for some of you that have been to Mara, there are some areas where you don't have grid system in the park, so you have to they have to be sustained by battery system. and solar system. So the company focused on all electric conversion kits for fleet vehicles such as light truck, public transport, and buses, as well as electric motorcycles and energy system. That's our workshop. So as you can see, there's that bus that we are working on. It's already out for test, and we are also doing the 4x4 Land Cruiser at the back. And on our far right, you can see the bikes, electric bikes. What we are doing at the moment is we are converting, if it's the transport system, we are converting the already existing drivetrain to install an electric powertrain. But for the bikes, we have two models where we are building our own bike from ground, and then we are also doing conversion. That's where we started, and now we are for the bikes. We have our own model that we developed, soon to be released. So we'll be building bikes from scratch, and vehicles is mostly conversion. Soon we'll partner with other companies to sell fully electric vehicles, not conversion kits, but if, for instance, a customer wants a ready-made electric car from China or wherever, so we can offer that solution as well. We give you the option of choosing whether you want to convert or whether you want to get a brand new vehicle. So I've prepared some of the reasons over here why you should go electric, and throughout this session, you can gather your questions if you have any. So we can handle question and answer after the presentation. So I have here with me some of the reasons why you should go electric and some of the challenges that we are facing that will stop us from going electric. So one of our very first reason is increased cost. Rising oil prices, policy changes, and emission regulations. These are things that you can easily relate to. The other day, the prices of fuel and petrol kind of went up to the roof, and most of the people who are driving out there can really attest to this. It's not easy to drive every day with the prices how they are rising every now and then. So that's why we offer you electric solutions. We haven't heard of situations where token prices at the moment are kind of increasing, and if there's a situation of that sort, we are also providing energy storage system where you can always charge from, the sun is always throughout the year, so you can always charge from energy storage system. So with these rising prices, make operation of fossil fuel vehicles more costly and difficult, which leads to emerging markets being in their needs of vehicles with lower running costs, but they are the ones that can't afford. Most of the people that want these electric vehicles, they're quite pricey. It's not like I'll tell you, you'll just go and you can easily afford an electric car. The cheapest that we have are going for around 4 million. And for a daily user, let's say taxi drivers, they are looking at a vehicle that they can buy at 1 million or so. The increased cost pushing us to go electric, but how do we manage to go electric if the prices are quite so high? That's where things like the government incentives should come in, where the government maybe, let's say for our conversion process, if we manage to get all our products tax-free, so then we can reduce the prices, because for our conversion kit at the moment, for the 4x4, we are doing at 4 million Kenya shillings, which is not something easy to tell someone to convert an old vehicle for 4 million. But if you look at in the long run, you're going to save on fuel, save on maintenance, because it's almost maintenance free, and you'll get a return on investment. So which leads all electric vehicles are simpler than gas-powered ones. That's so obvious. Gas-powered ones have a tailpipe, they have the exhaust system, they have the fuel tanks, and quite have a lot of parts to maintain. But with electric cars, they are quite minimum when it comes to that, because they don't have all these. They don't have spark plugs, tailpipes, or pistons. It's just a motor and your battery system. That's what you really need to focus on. So that way, it reduces your cost of operation of that vehicle, because you only focus on the motor, which we guarantee you over 10 years of operation with that motor. And the batteries that we are using is lithium-ion batteries. With lithium-ion batteries, they are quite durable and have around 10,000 cycles. So before you exhaust that, you've actually got return on investment on your electric car. So another reason why we should go electric is product market fit. So vehicles manufacturers do not produce electric vehicles adapted for emerging market needs, and their limited production capacity is currently dedicated to developing markets. So when you look around the world, let's say Europe, America, Asia, all these countries are moving electric, and there's a big demand that they cannot really satisfy at the moment. So all the first batch of electric vehicles that are going to be made, the new batch, are going to be purely for such markets. So by the time we get brand new electric cars cars in Africa, it could have taken us quite a number of years. What can we do about that? If, for instance, we have the other day Ford unveiled the electric version of F-150 pickup. Customers had already reserved more than 100,000 of them, and based on the price, Ford 150 Lightning is $40,000 and 10,000 above the gas-powered ones. But Ford says the EV will cost far less than. With this, upon unveiling their new product, electric car, it ran out of stock. The orders were quite too high that they could not satisfy. So look at a situation where you're in Africa and you want that Ford 150 that is coming out maybe the next year or next month. And on their order list, there are so many people who've already placed orders and they're producing them. It will take quite a number of years before we get these electric vehicles in Kenya or Africa at large. The Nissan Leaf hybrid, which is the most common and most affordable type of electric car that is available at the moment. And we have Tesla, which are quite expensive. You cannot even think of buying a Tesla. It's way, way too expensive. In the near future, maybe those will not reach the market in the foreseeable future. And as Opibus, we come in at this point to make sure that you can use your old drivetrain that you already have and give it a new life. So for instance, you had be it a Range Rover or a Land Cruiser. So we can convert that existing drivetrain that you have. Let's say your engine has already knocked out. So we remove your drivetrain, we give you a new electric drivetrain, and you still have the chance of experiencing electric drivetrain and as well contributing to saving the planet from carbon emissions. So another reason why we should go electric is stagnated transition. By 2050, even not 50% of the globe fleet will be electric with the forecasted production capacity. As more people and government push for urgent action on climate change, cars and trucks are undergoing their greatest makeover since the automobile inception. More than a century ago, startups and standard bearers alike are fighting for their toehold, in which industry leaders suddenly see as their best path forward. Vehicles without tailpipe emissions by almost every measure. This popularity is surging virtually overnight, and an era of electric car has arrived. So we have so many companies out there. Apart from Tesla, there is, like I mentioned, Ford. There is Volkswagen that is making electric cars. Jaguar released their iPark the other day. So as well as Toyota, they are also making electric vehicles. GM pledged to be carbon neutral by 2040, and also the President Joe Biden vowed to transition the federal fleet of more than 60,000 vehicles to EVs. So these are kind of measures that other countries like Europe and America are putting in place to ensure they can easily move the transition process quite fast as compared to what we are doing over here, because we don't have any measures in place or government commitment to support the journey of going electric. So with this situation of stagnated transition, then it means we have to come up with conversion kits so we can as well contribute or fasten the process of electric transition. There's also dependency. A green revolution in daily travel has begun. Battery-powered cars are selling fast, and automakers, nagged by governments, are phasing out gas vehicles. Governments from California to China, Japan, and United Kingdom recently announced plans to ban sale of new passenger vehicles powered solely by gas or diesel by 2035 or sooner. Automotive giants from Volvo to Jaguar now say they'll phase out piston engine by then anyway, while Ford says passenger vehicles in Europe will be all EV or hybrid in 5 years and all electric by 2030. GM has pledged to be carbon neutral by 2040. President Joe Biden has vowed to transition the federal fleet of more than 60,000 vehicles to EVs, and the administration plans to tighten fuel efficiency standards. So emerging markets are dependent on imported used vehicles. There are very few people out here, like in Kenya, that will go to a showroom to buy a brand new car. You'll see very few vehicles, let's say from DTOB on the road. Most of the people do go to the yard to buy a used vehicle. In a fossil situation, it's an ideal situation because maybe the mileage of that vehicle is 5,000 mileage, or let's say 10,000. So you can still the vehicle still has got a lot of life left in it. But when it comes to electric cars, the battery have a lifespan. They have a certain duration in which they can serve. So, for instance, you're importing already used electric cars, then we'll be left in a situation that the cars that will be getting to our market will be like will just be like a dump site. They'll be dumping their old used electric cars, and you can even use that vehicle for less than not even 5 years. Let's say they've already depleted the entire life of the lithium-ion batteries, and your vehicle can't hold charge for quite long. The same case too, you can relate to your phone. There's a duration that it gets that your phone the charge lasts for 2 hours or less, and when it was new, it could last for a day or 2 days before you charge again. So the same case applies to electric cars, because if the battery lifespan is depleted, it cannot sustain you. The charge cannot sustain you to go long distances. So in that case, we'll only be buying already used vehicles that will be more like a dump site for electric cars. Help us to help Africa overcome that. We are creating conversion kit. Instead of buying this car that the life of the batteries has already been depleted, we give you a new battery pack, a new powertrain that you install to the same shell on that you still have, and you get quite the same performance as you could with a brand new electric car. Those are some of the challenges and some of the reasons that we should push you or should make you go electric. And with me, I have the challenges that we are facing in the e-mobility sector, challenges that needs to be addressed, challenges that can hinder someone from going electric. Every day when you wake up, you want to know, if I go electric, for instance, my vehicle used to go full tank for let's say 500 kilometers, and you're wondering whether you can still achieve the same with electric car. So yes, those are some of the challenges that we need to address, and we have other challenges like electric batteries for EVs are mostly lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, and graphite. So if you look around, how many ores do we have for such ores, like for cobalt and lithium? Drivers across the globe adopt EVs quickly depends on some factors. The price and stability of EVs also depends on the raw materials. EV batteries rely on lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, and graphite. Most of those materials are mined in just a few places, and much of it is refined in China. So the refineries are mostly in China. You'll find Nevada wanted to mine some lithium from the US, but the refineries are in China. It doesn't make any sense to mine in the US and take your minerals to China for refinery and then get them back to the US for fitting them into your drivetrain. That's not realistic, because the process of moving your iron ore to China back and forth, you're using fossil fuel, and instead of reducing carbon footprint, you're actually increasing the carbon footprint. So EV manufacturing nation are scrambling to source supply as they project potential lithium shortage later this decade. At the same time, extraction of these materials have led to ecological and human rights abuse. Governments such as European nations are wrestling with ways to make supply chain stable, to make it stable, ethical, and safe, while automakers, including Volkswagen, are establishing auditing and certification system to make sure battery suppliers comply with environmental and labor rules. Consumer may hesitate to trust such commitments, however, because automakers have disappointed them before. They always come up with commitment. They commit to something. They'll tell you you'll get if you mine in your area, we'll give back to the community by building hospitals, roads, and such. But most of the cases, they do not comply or adhere to their commitments, and we end up to situations where we have child labor. So many kids in Congo, they are working on the mine site, it's a source of income for them, but if you look at a human rights angle, it's not right to make children to work on a mine site just because you need lithium ion. The same way, it's not right to make children, like if you're a parent, to make your child go to work in a shop or something just for you to have income for that day. So we should not advocate for kids or poor working conditions for these people who are working on iron mines. So those are the challenges we're experiencing. distancing and policies need to be placed so all these people can adhere to that. Another challenge you're facing is range. Tesla the other day listed that their vehicle can go up to 500 kilometers per charge. And if you compare that to diesel, that's not anything that you can compare, because with diesel you can maybe go more than 500 kilometers and you won't need to find a fuel charging station for that. But at the moment, that's what we have out there, a maximum of 500 kilometers. And with our drivetrain, we are not yet at Tesla's arena because we are a startup. We started the other day. Tesla has been in the field for more than 10 years. So they've worked on their battery system. They're actually producing their own battery. They are producing their entire drivetrain in-house. So we are buying our batteries, lithium-ion batteries from China. And with the capacity that we have, it can only take us to 180 kilometers per charge. That's the longest range we can achieve so far. And we are working on improving that. For you to achieve a bigger range, it means you have to have a bigger battery pack. If your battery pack is way too big, then it compromises the weight of the vehicle. If the vehicle is way too heavy, then you cannot achieve the distance because most of the energy is consumed to propel the vehicle, you see? So we need to come up with batteries or find a way to get small batteries with bigger capacity. So if you have a small battery that can handle a bigger capacity, then in your vehicle you don't really need to have a lot of batteries. The 4x4 that we're using, it uses 36 modules. That's the smallest we have, 36 modules, which is 101 individual lithium-ion batteries. But the size of a lithium-ion batteries is probably the size of this microphone holder. So they're not quite so big. But if you count 2 times these 101, that's quite a lot. You need a lot of space to carry such amount of batteries. So for us, at the moment, we are not able to achieve more than 180 because of such factors. If we increase the battery sizing, then it means we add more weight to the vehicle. And for the small batteries that are out there, they are quite very expensive. If you buy a very small battery with a bigger capacity, they are quite very expensive. So for the conversion pricing will be so expensive, and it won't make any economic sense to convert a car for 10 million, does it? So that's our maximum range for the 4x4. And for the buses, we are doing 30 modules. They are quite bigger modules than the ones we are using for. They are quite bigger modules than the ones we are using for the 4x4. He'll display later, and I'll take you through the drivetrain of the bus, and just to show you where the size of the boxes, how they fit on the bus. So yeah, with the bus it's quite heavy, and it's a way bigger pack, even 3 times than the one we are using for the 4x4. For the bikes, we can achieve 150 kilometers per charge. So with the solutions we've offered for the bike, it's a swappable station. So you don't really have to wait for you to charge. For instance, you have a customer and you've drained your battery pack. You don't really have to, the customer doesn't really have to wait for you to fill your pack so you can continue with your journey. You can just swap that battery with another battery that is already full. And we are coming up with system and a software where you'll be able to locate all those swapping stations around. Maybe it's Nairobi. You want to see around the area that you are, how many swapping stations are there that you can just go walk in, swap your battery pack, and proceed. With the vehicles as well, other companies like Rivian are working on swappable stations where their vehicle just goes to a place where they swap the whole battery station, and then to a new one, which is quite maybe a 10 minutes process, as opposed to the charging time for EVs. The charging time for the 4x4 is 3 hours for a fast charger. So if you're quite in a hurry, you can't really tell someone to wait for 3 hours to charge to full capacity. And that's the fastest we've done so far. Some other companies are coming up with charging solutions where you can manage to charge from 0 to 100 in 10 minutes. That's a big progress on EV industry, because if you the time that you use to refill, it's usually less than 2 minutes. If you walk into a gas station, 2 minutes you're done, and you proceed to your destination. But that doesn't apply when it comes to electric vehicles. You have to wait. The best solution that we have right now is the company that is coming up with a 10 minutes charge time, and 10 minutes is quite much, but it's better than 3 hours, you see? So those are some of the research that are still ongoing, and the 10 minutes charge station is not yet released. But what we have right now is the DC fast charger for 3 hours, and there's also AC fast chargers. Some of these fast chargers will be installed on grid, so you'll be charging from KPLC or whichever provider you have. And for the areas that do not have access to electricity, we'll install an energy solution, solar and batteries, so that way you just charge from the battery pack, and it doesn't inconvenience you. And from the software that we are creating and the application that we are creating, you can manage to easily locate all the charging station around your area. So that's on recharge time and charging infrastructure. On electricity has the advantage that it works without smell and with less noise and vibration. But the disadvantage is costliness of the accumulators, which are the batteries, and the impossibility of recharging except where the electric supply is available. So that's if you're relying on KPLC, but in situations that you're relying on areas that we've installed charging stations, you can easily charge from that. The 4x4s that we've delivered to our customers, we deliver our vehicle, even the bikes, deliver the 4x4 and the bike together with the charger, and we do the installation of the charger for you. It's a 3-phase charger, normal 3-phase charger. If you have any 3-phase outlet, you can easily plug in to charge your vehicle, depending on the configurations of the lines that you have. On the charging infrastructures, companies need to come up together and come up with a charging solution that works for everyone. The other day, Nissan Leaf was coming to our workshop to see if they can charge their car, but our charging port is quite different from their charging port. They are not compatible. They cannot use our charger to charge theirs because it has different configuration. So we have the American configuration, British configuration, and the Chinese configuration. So as a country, as Kenya and Africa, we need to come up with a way where we standardize our configuration to make sure that all vehicles are charged by this type of charger. So that way we don't invest billions of money on charging infrastructure, but they're all different. You find, for instance, if you go to every petrol station, and after every petrol station is maybe Nissan's, they have their own petrol station, and Toyota have their own petrol station. It's not convenient because there are so many brand and models out here. So if we keep coming up with different charging stations, it doesn't really make any sense. And for the charging infrastructure to work, government has to play a role on that because it's quite expensive. For the DC-DC fast charger that we're installing for the bus, one DC-DC fast charger costs us 1 million, the cheapest that we have. So are you telling me that you'll tell all these consumers to buy a 1 million watt fast charger? It doesn't make any economic sense. So government have to find a way to contribute on this journey of e-mobility, maybe by reducing tax. We have electric products or green energy-related products tax-free. So that way it can really accelerate the process of conversion to or transition to electric mobility. Like Tesla and other company is building its own exclusive charging network, 3,500 fast charger on highway and thousands more in state parks and near trailheads. Even though most charging takes place at home, a spotty and inconsistent charging network complicates long trips and remains a reason for some people not to buy electric vehicles. Like I mentioned, if you can't find, maybe you want to go to Mombasa and there's no charging port, let's say at Titoande, you can't go with your electric car that you paid for 4 million to convert, because how will you manage to go all the way to Mombasa if there's no charging port in between, and the charge that you have cannot take you all throughout the journey. So we have to cover these gaps of charging infrastructure and make it consistent enough that you're confident that if you want to go to Wajir today, you'll still have a charging port around Nanyuki or somewhere. So that's on charging infrastructure. And then we have our product strategy and solution for urban cities. that's how we are handling our product at the moment. We have electric motorcycles. We have more than 3 billion motorcycles out here. A lot of 4% of the population get their source of income from riding motorbikes. So if we manage to convert these these bikes to electric fleet, we are reducing their cost to half. We were doing an interview with one of the riders that is operating with our bike in Kisumu. If he manages to save 4,000 a day, when he's using fossil-driven drivetrain. But when we gave him the electric drivetrain, he just swipes the battery pack around twice, and for one swapping, it's 30 shillings. So imagine if you run your electric bike the entire day for only 60 shillings because he does 2 swipes a day. And he manages to save now 8,000 from his daily revenue that he gets. So these people, if we manage to make 4% of the population have twice as much what they used to have, it means it will have a very big social impact. These people will manage to take their kids to better schools. These people will manage to make better investment and saving plans. And as a country, we are going to grow financially because the economy of the country is going to grow so high because these people are the biggest. It's 4% of the population. It's quite a big number. The other day when you saw the demonstration about the boda guys, it was quite intense because there are so many people out here who depend on boda to provide for their families, to take their kids to school. And there are even, I'm sure, even in universities, people who their parents are getting their source of income from boda, and they still try their best to make sure these people access education and quality life. So if we manage to increase the income of that segment of the population for instance, they were saving 4,000 and now they're saving 8,000, it means their livelihood is going to improve. And that's a good angle to look at it as a country. And if the worry is, will they really adopt? You're asking me if I tell you today you'll earn 4,000 and tomorrow you'll earn 8,000, is it even a question whether you're going electric or not? To you, it's what really makes the most financial sense. If it gives you more money, then it's worth it. You don't because most of these boda people, they're not the people who are concerned about carbon footprint. Oh, it's creating pollution. It's not a better future for my kids. They are not concerned on all that. They are only concerned on their daily revenue. How much are they making? How are they going to be able to take their kids to school, to provide for their family? That's the most important thing that they think they care about. And if our electric bike answers all these questions, then definitely we are looking at a situation where the 4% of the population will be fully electric. We are doing quite a number of partnership with Uber at the moment to have their electric fleet, their boda fleet electric for the delivery trucks and delivery bikes, all electric. That's a big angle and a big approach because Uber is a big role play. Everyone every day is using Uber. Maybe once a week, you either want to go town or rush somewhere and you're in a hurry. You'll either use a bike or you'll use electric. You'll use their Bolt or the taxis. So if we provide electric solutions to these people, then you as a person, you may not want to go electric. You may look at it, it's very expensive, it does not make sense to me. But these people who see the value of the income or how much income they're making from using electric cars, and you as a consumer, you'll use their car or either order something with the bike and you get deliveries from an electric bike. So in one way or the other, whether you like it or not, you're contributing in going electric. Your order gives a job to that delivery Uber guy, and that way it encourages more people to go electric because they're creating more money and the jobs are always there. So that's on bike. On buses, at the moment we are doing from the image you saw before, there was the big 42-seater, and as well as we are working on the 14-seater. We started with the 42-seater because it's big. Anything big for us is a good starting point because it means we can install enough batteries. If it's the main reason why we are not doing personal vehicles at the moment is because of the size. If you look at, let's say, Nissan Note. It's quite small. Where are you going to install all these batteries? I told you we need 36 modules for the 4x4. And with 36 modules, it means all the areas that the fuel tank had occupied, they are now occupied by batteries. The front area where the engine was, it's now fully occupied by batteries. You don't have even a tiny bit of space left. We are maximizing all the space possible. So if it's a small drivetrain like a Note, let's say the Nissan Leaf, it's quite a challenge for us because our batteries are quite big and we need a bigger pack for us to manage 180 kilometers or 150 kilometers. And if we install, maybe because of the size, and we install a smaller pack, then of course the consumer will not be satisfied because they'll manage to achieve maybe let's say less than 50 kilometers. It doesn't make any economic sense to go 50 kilometers and you have to wait 3 hours to charge, So that's why our approach at the moment is big buses. And with big buses, there's another approach where we chose big buses is because of the space. For the Matatu bus, 42 seaters, those are 42 people. Imagine if all those 42 people had their own private car. Each of those 42, everyone, let's say someone else is having a Vanguard, the next one is having a RAV4, a Forester. They're quite big, almost the size of a Matatu. If you compare the length of a Vanguard and that of a Matatu, the difference is very small in terms of length. And that's a lot of traffic. You're not solving anything when it comes to carbon footprint because you're increasing traffic. All these people could fit in one bus and move to point A to point B. So if we can make the public transport reliable and sustainable, we'll get to a situation where people will prefer public options over personal vehicles. At the moment, everyone wants to buy their own personal vehicle because the public transport is not sustainable, it's not efficient, and it's not reliable. So these people will opt to buy their personal vehicle. But if you make the public transport sustainable and reliable, all these people will opt to go public transport, you see? Because that way there's no traffic. All these people that could have fit in 500 meters, they are now in one bus. So yes, that's why we chose public buses. And as well, it's a commercial vehicle. So the owner is only interested with how much revenue they're generating from this bus. They are not concerned of the carbon footprint. Carbon footprint topic is a topic that the elite are the only people who are concerned with how much pollution they are creating. But for business people, they are concerned with revenue. How much am I making at the end of the day? So if it's a public bus and the cost of running the bus, there's no fuel. How much do they use per day? A quick guess. Anyone can tell me how much they fuel City Hopper a day? Anyone? Sorry? 60 liters. 60 liters of, that is petrol. So how much is a liter of petrol at the moment? How much is a liter of petrol? Diesel? How much is a liter of diesel? 115. So they are using, you said 50 liters, 60 liters, and per liter is 115. So how much do they use per day? By the end of the day, it's 60 liters and 115 per liter. So how many times do they refill in a day? Once? Twice? Once. 60 liter once a day. So how much is that if you do a quick calculation? 6,900. 6,900. That's, let's say 7,000. 7,000 to fuel this bus. If you give this person an option of not fueling, they'll pocket this 7,000 every day. Is there anyone who will deny that chance? They'll of course choose to save the 7,000 because at the end of the day, how much profit do they make? For a 42-seater, let's say you're coming from Cabanas to airport. That is 50 shillings. Cabanas to airport, 50 shillings times 50, 42, 2,100. So these 2,100. So there's 2,100 that they've collected from transport one way. And then there's how many routes do they go per day, roughly? How many routes do a 14-seater or City Hopper make in a day? Minimum trips. Let's say on a worst day, they'll do 5 rounds. Yeah? 5 rounds? More or less? More. So it's 8 rounds. Let's do a minimum of 8 rounds. 8 rounds times 2,100. That's 16,000. If you're making 16,000 a day, and you've spent 7,000 on fuel, how much are you left with? 9,000. So 9,000, you haven't paid your conductor and your driver. How much does a driver earn per day? How much does a driver roughly earn a day for a matatu driver? 1,000. 1,500. I subtract the 1,500 from the 9,000, that's 7,500. The conductor, let's give them 500. You're left with, how much? 1,000 as well. So we are left with 65. And you haven't paid these con guys that are con artists that are all over, that are collecting every day 20 shillings from every stage. You've experienced that. There's every stage, there's someone who is, I gathered the customers for you and you have to give me 20 shillings for every stop that you make. So let's give it another 1,000. Okay, 500. 500. So you're left with 6,000. This guy is only pocketing 6,000 for a whole day of traffic, a whole day of a situation where you meet a traffic officer. It's equivalent to just sleeping, because a traffic officer will demand 2,000 if they catch you in a 5,000. So literally you're just working, you're not even working. If you have to go for, you're left with 6,000, and there are so many situations. I guarantee you every week you must be caught for some stupid mistake. So there are some days that you're actually not working. So it's just equivalent to staying at home. So we are giving you an option of, you save the 16,000. It's 16,000 that you generated per day. You pay your driver 1,500. You pay your conductor 1,000. How much are you left with? 16,000 minus 2,500. That's 13,500. So you are pocketing 13,500 a day as opposed to 5,000. Of course, you'll choose to pocket 13,000. That's not even debatable. So that is in a situation, and you are pocketing 13,000 every day. Let's say you converted this bus at 10 million, but it's a vehicle that you already used on fuel and the engine knocked. So instead of dumping your car to the yard or maybe selling it as scrap, you investing another 10 million to give it a new life. So as opposed to buying a brand new car and converting the already existing drivetrain that you have, I'll choose to convert, because buying a brand new might be more expensive than that. And it comes with fuel, it comes with maintenance. How many times do you have to go for maintenance per month? How many times does a bus or maybe a personal vehicle goes for maintenance? Once in 3 months. So if you're taking your vehicle for service there are so many moving parts as well that we haven't even considered. You're using hydraulic for your power steering. You have brake fluids. You have coolant for your cooling system. You have so many fluids that you're using on this vehicle, and if you're going electric, you're not buying any of this. Apart from our system is water cooled, so our controller, motor and charger is water cooled. So in this case, you still retain the water coolant, which can be cooled by glycerol or water. Water is just enough for that, because our maximum temperature for the motor is 55 degrees. So with the minimum moving hydraulic parts, then you're saving as well on maintenance, because you're only checking your brake lines. And for the bus, it's not even brake fluids, it's a compressed system for the bus. They use a compressor for the braking, and you use just the coolant for the cooling system. Okay, just to get back on our product strategy and solution for urban cities, that was more about bikes and buses. And let's talk about the 4x4. The 4x4, these are commercial vehicles as well, because the ones that we've done, there's no individual customer that is using this for their personal needs, just to travel or have fun in Nairobi or go to Mombasa. They are commercial vehicles. People pay for such services. And for all those camps that we've done electric drivetrain, you pay even extra to have an experience on an electric drivetrain, because the experience is magnificent. It's an experience that cannot be compared to going on a game drive with a fossil vehicle. With the fossil vehicle, anytime you've witnessed, most of you that have gone to the park, if you get so close, maybe you've sighted a lion somewhere, or maybe an elephant. And then there's a whole convoy that follows after that, a big crowd that comes to watch. And then there's this point that you have to move, or maybe squeeze, or maybe you've had enough and you want to move. So a situation where you want to move, you have to start your engine. And every time you start your engine, it produces a lot of noise that it disturbs the scenery. Eventually, either your sighting will move, or you'll just disturb their peace. But if it's an electric drivetrain, you don't. First of all, when you start your engine, there's no noise. It's just equivalent to pushing. When you see an electric car moving, you'll think there's someone behind it pushing. There's no noise, there's no pollution, and you can actually manage to, approach slowly. Most of the time what these animals do, they observe you as you're coming. If you're coming quite slowly, they won't feel triggered. They'll remain calm. And once you can even come very close because you're not disturbing them. It's not creating any noise. But if it has way too much noise, it disturbs them and they run away. So the experience on the 4x4 drivetrain is quite enjoyable as compared to the engine one. And you don't even have to smell the fumes as you're driving, because most of these vehicles are open vehicle. There are no windows, no roof, and you'll be literally smelling all the fumes that will be coming out of the fossil vehicle. But for electric drivetrain, there's no fume that you're actually smelling. And it will give you the same experience when it comes to distance. Most of these game drives are 70 kilometers a day. For a morning game drive and the evening game drive is 70 kilometers a day. And our vehicle can go up to 180. At night, they charge with this solar solution, energy solution that we've provided, and the next day they move on. You see, so it's convenient for them, and they are pocketing a lot of money, because for a full tank, how much is a Land Cruiser full tank? How much roughly does it cost you to fill a Land Cruiser? 9,000. So 9,000 a day, okay, not really a day, depending on the number of kilometers you want to achieve with that. So 9,000 will take you from here to Mara and back to Maimahio. So that's how many kilometers? With 9,000, you go all the way to Mara and you manage to come back to around Maimahio. And with electric drivetrain, we do not guarantee you'll achieve all that. We cannot even compare when it comes to distance. We're not even arguing that you will miss the experience of going for a long ride without worrying whether your battery pack is full or whether there's another battery station. We don't give you that. We don't guarantee you that, but we guarantee you that you won't spend 9,000 per day, because there is no refilling of fuel tanks that you're doing. It's only swapping your battery pack. Our battery pack is 36 kilowatt. For 36 kilowatt, how much does KPLC charge per kilowatt? 16 shillings? Yes, let's say 16 shillings. And your pack is 36 kilowatt. How much are you spending a day for charge? 600. So per day you're experiencing 180 kilometers for only 600, as opposed to using fossil that you'll spend 180 kilometers will take you how many liters for 180 kilometers? 1 liter is 1 kilometer. 1 liter takes you how long? How many kilometers? 1 liter, 21. So 1 liter will take you 7 kilometers. Okay, you do your homework, check, do the calculation. If you have the option of spending 600 shillings a day, as opposed to, okay, let's say you're charging in the twice a day. If you want to achieve 300 kilometers, that's twice a day, that's 1,200. 1,200, and I guarantee you for fuel, it will be around 6,000 for the same distance. For 300 kilometers, it will be around 6,000. You are saving a lot of money when you go electric. You might incur a lot of cost on the conversion process, the initial capital of investment, but in the long run, you're saving a lot. All that you could have spent on fossil, all that you could have spent on maintenance, you're cutting all that cost. We are doing our free maintenance on all our vehicles. If you have an issue with your battery pack, we do free maintenance on that. If you have any issue with your whichever issue that you may be having on the electric drivetrain, we do a free maintenance, unless you tampered with something. Maybe you did the things that we cautioned you against. For instance, our motor has a revolution of 5,000 revolution per minute, and our controller can only handle a maximum of our motor is 6,000 revolution per minute. Our controller can only handle 4,000. So in a situation where you free spin, you're roasting your controller, because it cannot handle 6,000 revolution per minute. It's too much. You're drawing too much from the battery pack, and the controller cannot sustain that. So there are things that we caution you against, and if you happen to do the things that we cautioned you against, of course, you'll incur the cost of such damage. A controller kit costs around 400,000, and our motor costs around 600,000. So if you damage any of those in reference to anything that we cautioned you against, then of course we'll incur this cost. And it's with any manufacturer. Even, for instance, today, my Mac, I happen to have a charging issue, and from nowhere I decide, I'm an engineer, so let me fix this. I dismantled my dashboard to check my charging port. I have lost warranty of that product. If anything happens after that, the company does not guarantee me refund on that product because I chose to go against the rules and policies that they kept in place. So yes, that's our product strategy. For the product strategy as well, there's the charging. So I've mentioned electric motorcycles, electric buses, and the Muse powertrain, which is the 4x4. And we also do charging infrastructure, like I mentioned, just to make your whole process to be like an ecosystem where you don't have to worry, where will I charge? If I buy this car, where will I find my charging port? We install that for you. We give solutions. So we give you for the bike a swappable option. For the matatu, we give you a fast charger. We install on your route, different routes, different fast chargers. So you have that option, and we don't charge you on that. And for the 4x4, we deliver with a charger, and we install for you the 3-phase wiring for that charger. So we make our system more sustainable and reliable. On public transport, I've mentioned. So on the public transport, there's a drivetrain that you'll see for the bus. And for the 4x4, I can briefly explain to you how we do the arrangement of components. The public transport. So yeah, this is my last one. The public transport, I'll give you a small tour on our drivetrain. As he looks for it, it's a bus and a chassis and a box. Okay, let's maybe you can have a look on the previous one that you displayed. So that's our 4x4. As you can see on the front area, the engine area, there's the front box where we have lithium-ion batteries, as well as our powertrain. On the rear end, we have 2 boxes. There's one just under the carriage and one on the fuel tank area. So we have 2 battery packs. And on the far end, the grayish thing that you can see with kind of orange connectors, that's our charger, water-cooled charger. So as you can see, we've maximized space on that vehicle. And with that amount of space, we can only achieve 180. So if you want more than that, then literally you'll have to walk with you're towing another truck full of batteries. So because we don't have more space to put more batteries on that. On the buses as well, there's another drivetrain for the bus. That's our charger, as you can see on the left. That's our charger that we deliver with the 4x4. And that's the front box, how it looks. We retain the brake system and the radiator for cooling the motor and controller. That's our charging infrastructure. On the lower bit side of it, you'll see the box. On the side, the controller is mounted, and the motor. Our motor is coupled to the drivetrain. That is the 4x4 transmission. So you retain the 4-wheel functionality of the vehicle. So as I finalize on this, I'll leave you with a question, and you'll raise your questions. Anyone with a question first before I leave you with my question? Yes? So the question is how do we handle the drivetrain that we've removed from the vehicle, the engine, fuel tanks, the exhaust system? So most of our vehicles are customer vehicles. You bring your vehicle to our workshop and we convert. So you retain ownership of all these parts. If you want your engine back, if you want your exhaust system back, you will literally give it back to you, because there are other customers that bring in brand new vehicle, like the vehicle we did last year. It was a brand new straight from Toyota Kenya, 0 mileage, and they chose to convert it to electric. That's a brand new engine that they can use for something else. So they retain ownership of all the components that were on the drivetrain. And if it's our vehicle, then we have extra engines on our workshop. We haven't yet found a way on disposing them, because we don't want to sell engine. We'll be contributing to carbon footprint, and so we haven't found a better way to dispose most of this stuff. Any other question? Like I mentioned, the question is the lifespan of the batteries. For the lithium-ion batteries that we are using, they have a 10,000 life cycle. So you have like you can charge 10,000 times before you deplete the lifespan of the battery. So it's guaranteed for 10 years. We give you a guarantee for 10 years. Any other question? Any other question? So I will raise my question. My question is, with nearly a quarter of global emission coming from all types of transportation, can we warn ourselves of petrol petrol-powered car fast enough to avoid the worst effect? And can we do it without sparking a new environmental calamity? There is so many environmental calamities that can come when people are scrambling for minerals. There is calamities when people are, of course, it triggers war. There's war associated to going electric. So how do we do this? How do we go electric without sparking a new environmental calamity? Without maybe deforestation? If maybe the mining area is inside a forest, the Amazon forest or wherever, how do we go electric without maybe destroying our forest, without triggering any environmental calamity? So that's a question that I leave it to you, and you can think about it and find a way. Another question, last question that I should leave you with is, what do we do? Do we just survive the crisis of global warming and maybe move a little effort here, to work a little bit there, and just kind of survive it? Or do we come out of this crisis stronger, better, smarter, and with purpose? So it's a challenge on you whether you want to survive the global warming crisis and or you want to take part in creating a better future tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Taking us through, I think he'll introduce it better. But let's give them a warm welcome, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, and my learned friends, good afternoon. So maybe to start off, there's something fascinating and funny about the human mind. You find that the human mind starts working from the moment that you're born, yeah? And it never stops. But the only time it decides to stop is when you stand up and to speak in public. So before my mind starts working, so my name is Michel Iland. I'm an urban planner and a UAV pilot at Geo Technologies. And today I came with my team. Maybe I can just quick introduce them. I have Anthony Minor. Maybe he can just wave. Anthony, stand up and wave to the crowd. He's an electrical engineer and a UAV pilot. We also have Steve Kahora. He's also an UAV pilot and a commercial pilot. We have Celine Musau, who is a civil engineer and a UAV pilot. And we also have Grace Washeke, who is a geospatial engineer and a UAV pilot. So talking about, I had prepared a presentation for you guys, but due to time, and I know you've been hearing a lot about presentations today, we're gonna make it more exciting and fly. So Geo Technologies is a leading trendsetter in terms of overhead services, geospatial products and services. We are basically in the surveying and mapping field, from the sale and hire of RTK equipment, total stations, and even trainings. We are located at Astro Petrol Station building, which is along Thika Superhighway. And in terms of the products we offer, in recent times, let me take to you through a short story about drones. In recent times, about 2020, the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority passed a law that governs the use of unmanned aerial vehicles in Kenya. So from that means that for you to be able to fly in Kenya, like to fly a drone, you need to meet some certain parameters. You need to have registered the aircraft. You need to let's say, get permits even from, let's say, KCA, the Kenya Police, Ministry of Defense. And why do we regulate drones this much? This is more of a security issue because, let's say, I have this big drone over there. It's called the Matrix 300 RTK. That drone has a maximum takeoff weight of about 9 kilograms. So you can imagine if, let's say, a terrorist attaches, let's say, 2 kilograms of C4 explosives, it can do a lot of damage. That's why this industry is so much regulated. So in terms of offering these products, I'm here to tell you today that I can make you pilots. We are a training organization, what we refer to as an UTO. We train drone pilots. This is a 2-week course that you cover theory for 1 week. Basically, you get to learn about various aspects of airlow, navigation, theory of flight, battery procedures, for you to be able to understand the different aspects in flying these particular drones. And then the second week's covered what we call the GFT, which means it's a ground flight training. That training covers also 1 week, and you are able to physically fly the drone and get all the manual aspects of flying that particular drone. Today with me, in lines with today's theme of engineering for humanity, drones can be used for an array of different products and services. You'll be able to find that, maybe talking about food security and agriculture, you'll find that drones can be used for those, what we call multispectral analysis, which is how you can be able to measure the plant health using certain payloads of multispectral cameras. And again, for those who have maybe large tracts of land, you can be able to spray with a drone. We have a drone called the DJI Grass Chi30. Can spray about 150 acres in a day. So in comparison to maybe the normal conventional methods we use for spraying, like the hand sprayer, you'll find that drones are proving to be more efficient and optimizing our work efforts as farmers. And again, in the aspect of surveying and mapping, you'll be able to find that these particular aircrafts, they have RTK services on board or devices on board. That way you are able to achieve the accuracy of your projects up to a centimeter and sub-centimeter level. So you'll be able to find that initially you'll be able to, let's say, map an area of 800 acres in about 2 weeks. But with drone, you can be able to map that 800 acres in a day with different outputs where you have the 3D visualization models, you have what you call digital service models, digital terrain models. And again, what it can be able to inform your work as surveyors and engineers for the terrain infographics. So for today, I want it to be a little exciting. Maybe Anthony. Unfortunately, we cannot fly the big drones in-house, but we can fly the smaller drone, which is Air 2S. And maybe after this, we can proceed to the graduation square and fly the bigger drone. And you can be able to see firsthand how we can use this particular aircraft for surveying and mapping. So, ladies and gentlemen, maybe Anthony, we can launch just a little bit, the Air 2S.
That particular information that you need to collect. And these drones are kind of more advanced in that we have different sensors. And in a way that when you fly a drone in the environment, we have obstacle sensors, where you can set an obstacle sensor to be around, let's say, 2-3 meters. So if I maybe get into proximity to about, let's say, 2 meters, you can hear some beeping sound to tell you there's an obstacle. So even crashing this particular aircraft, it's a bit ngumu. So before we get to fly, let me just take you through these 2 different machines. What we have here are mapping drones. Yeah? They have quite advanced payloads. We have, again, what you talked about, RTK devices on board. Like for this is the Phantom 4 RTK. It weighs about 1.3 kilograms. This on top here is what you call an RTK device. For the surveyors in the house, this is what you use for positioning accuracies. And again, we have all the different components. We have the propellers, we have the motors, we have what you see with some lights on, which is a battery. And again, you can be able to tell even the battery percentage. The 4 slots means that each slot has 25% of battery. So that's 25, 25, 25, 25. That's 100%. And at the bottom, this is what we refer to as a payload. This is what collects your information. So basically, the aircraft is a carrier of the payload that help you to collect that particular information. So this is also a mapping drone with maximum efficiency. We also have what is called the matrix 300 RTK. Again, the components are also similar, maybe a bit bigger. Let me talk about the payloads on this. What we have here is quite an advanced camera. We refer to it as a Zenmuse H20T. This is a nano camera, and you can be able, let's say, to say something like search and rescue. Let's say you've lost 2 people in the forest. You can be able to use this particular drone and the nano cameras to be able to pinpoint their actual location. You can also use it for inspections, let's say for power lines, where we have heat emitting signals. And again, we also have this other payload. Maybe Anthony can give me the A1. Also the H20T, which has quite some fascinating features. We have a zoom ability of about 200x. You can imagine a zoom ability of 200x. That means you are at,
UN towers, and you can be able to zoom up to downtown with quite a good resolution. So you can imagine how that is game-changing for inspections. Let's say you are doing an inspection for, let's say for Safaricom, for those control towers that they have. That means you don't need to fly really within a close proximity to the particular cell tower. So that's very game-changing. These are aircraft that you don't have a pilot on board. So that eliminates the need for, in case of an accident, you don't have that particular aspect of people getting hurt. So for the matrix, we normally have two payloads. This is what we call the H20T, the thermal camera. And what we have here is, again, we refer to it as a Zenmuse L1. This is a Leica camera. This is what you use for your survey grade mapping. You can be able to map those tiny little bit points for terrain, forming terrain, for graphics. So this is really game changer. After this, we're going to be flying down and you can see maybe how this maybe technology works at hand. So in lines with today being about engineering and humanity, let's just try a little bit. And I'll also invite my colleague Selina Musau to talk about drones and civil engineering. But before she does that, we can fly. So again, what we teach at GH Training Academy is all about safety and compliance. Again, remember this is an aviation issue and you're supposed to follow some certain laws. Let's say, for instance, today in Kenya, there's remote pilots. We are just allowed to fly at a certain conference. Let's say at a distance of 500 meters horizontally and 120 meters vertically. Why is this? Because you might be able to find that sometimes you have some low-flying aircraft. You'll find an aircraft flying at 400 feet. So you have to, at all times, safety and compliance. Again, remember, this is a 2 weeks course. That means maybe you're a student, we've got a holiday, you can just come, do the 2 weeks and get it to the market. And again, remember, this is an industry that is coming up. Most of you have maybe experienced drones from the filming drones to the let's say, weddings, and you see that a small drone maybe delivering the bridal rings or something. But we have now more advanced machines that are going to change the game of different sectors today. So, Anthony, so in terms of collecting information, these drones are too versatile, and you'll be able to find that you have hard-to-reach areas. You might be doing some surveying, let's say in a forest, and you're in an area that reaching is a bit impossible. These drones are able to collect that kind of information. Anthony? So when you come to our school, we will teach you different, what we call flight movements. We have some different degrees of movement. We have the O. Let's say, Anthony, you can show them. The O to the right. So that's a O. These different degrees of movement help you to control this particular plane. You want to the left. So we have some other movements like throttle up. You want to attain height or altitude of the aircraft. You are able to throttle up and throttle down. Throttle up, throttle down. So you have complete maneuverability of your aircraft at all times. And again, remember also these machines are autonomous. You can be able to map an area of 800 meters and slot out even the flight parameters. And you can be able to find out that drone flies autonomously, collecting information. So your work is just to subversive and collective information. How good is that? So, Anthony, you can push forward. So like I said, this is more of a training zone. It's basically for collecting that kind of information. Again, you can use it for, let's say, something like 3D modeling. The megapixels and resolutions of these cameras are more advanced in that. In that you can be able to collect that real-time information and process it into commercial software for you to get the different outputs that you need. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the flying concept as E1, again remember we are going to be flying the big matrix 300 ourselves in the square. So I will invite my colleague Selina just to touch a little bit about drones and civil engineering. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Selina Musau, I am a student civil engineer. I am also currently the youngest female drone pilot in Kenya. And yes, and I'm very excited to be here. At Geoid Technologies, we prioritize safety above everything else. And the reason why we got into drone technology is to reduce the time taken for a lot of things like mapping, inspection, and also to provide high accuracy data. So I just want to start off by asking you just one question. From the short presentation we've had from my colleague Mike, what areas are drones used that you know of as of now? Very true. She says used for delivery of medicine and blood. Any other? Yes, agriculture. There was another hand there. Any other? Mapping, filming, structural inspection, search and rescue, among many others. And being a civil engineer, I am in awe in the negative side of how much buildings are collapsing left, right, and center. And just last month, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a bridge that collapsed in Kajiado worth 100 million Kenyan shillings. And we are leveraging drone technology in the civil engineering, construction, and real estate industry to ensure the safety of residents and any other person who will be in use of that infrastructure in the future. So an example of the Matrix 300 RTK, we install thermal cameras, LiDAR sensors, and ultraviolet sensors for crack detection, for solar inspection. Just basically, when you think about urban design, there are different sections like buildings, roads, greenery, and the human population. So what we do is, breaking into that industry, we look for ways to ensure the safety of people who work there and people who will use that infrastructure in the future. And I don't want to make this very long because I know we're all very excited to see this big and small drones fly. So that will be all from me. Thank you.
That small demonstration, I'd like to re-emphasize what they've just said. This drone, I just asked how much it costs. Are any of you guys interested in knowing how much that drone costs? So, okay, I don't know if it was correct. But what I was told is that drone costs 3.2 million shillings. So, and getting it to come to University of Nairobi for it to fly in these premises was a security issue, it was a national issue, it was many issues. So we're going to go outside and fly this drone. So I do welcome you all to, a graduation square immediately after we close here, which we are doing right now. So we'll just allow Geoid Technologies to leave, and then we can take some photos, and we're done for the day. Yeah? Just like our committee members to come on stage so we can take some photos. We close and we're back at it again at 8 a.m. Yeah, but tomorrow there's a lot happening. There's an ambassador from Denmark to Kenya that's coming. The Vice Chancellor will be here. And lots and lots more. So you're very welcome. Our committee, please come on stage. And Kenya Green Building Society, please come on stage with us. Michael, would you like to come on stage as well? And for a photo. Esther, please come on stage for a photo, please. Our committee members, please come to the stage so we can take a photo with our guests.
The part that I'm always looking forward to is the project presentations. This is because I feel it gives us, it opens our minds, it gives us ideas and also converts us to real engineers because we are doing handy projects.
Oh, so my takeaways thus far are about engineering for humanity, the theme, and design thinking and how practical things and issues being faced out there in the market. Because when we're in school, we are learning books and theoretical things, but today we have been able to face some practical issues about social design for humanities and everything. And
my main expectation for the day was to network with different people from different fields, schools, just to build the portfolio, the contact list that I have, because in the future, networks are more important than any other thing. And also, I think looking forward, such conferences are very important everywhere in the country, for every other sector, because they show you, they open your mind to different thinking, yeah? Like today, I think the major takeaway from today will be the human-centered design that has been largely talked about, and how we can focus on the consumer or the human in designing anything or engineering anything.